Sorry. You know when you have like stinky air in your lungs and you need to get it out?
Okay.
You take a deep breath in and then you go to get all the stinky air in your lungs out.
And your lungs okay.
No, but like that's why you yawn.
Mm.
You yawn because your body's like, oh, you've got stinky air in like the bottom of your lungs, and you need like a way of like getting deep into your lungs and getting that stinky air out. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Indie
It's Indieventure.
It's not Indiscovery. And welcome back to Indieventure, a video game podcast all about the wonderful world of indie games. The Indieventure squad is made up of myself, Rachel Watts, and my two lovely co-hosts, Rebecca Jones.
Hello.
And Liam Richardson.
Hey, that's me. That's my name. Hello.
Yay, woo! It's episode 2! And as the end of the year draws near, we are tentatively waiting, fingers crossed, for a bunch of indie game releases before the year is out. So this episode, we'll be discussing our most anticipated upcoming indies for the end of the year, and some sneak peeks into 2024. And then, as always, we'll end the podcast with chatting about our hyperfixations. So yay, guys! How are you doing? Like we haven't been chatting for an hour already.
I am well, thank you, Rachel.
You threw me off so much with the stinky air comment. I think you've actually you've irreversibly changed my life.
Okay, but don't Google it. Just trust me.
All right. Yeah, I'm not doing. I'm good. Yeah, I'm really ill because I've worked in an office for a week, and it has made me sicker than I've been in 3 years. So that's fun. Turns out being around people is terrible. Office life. I like being in the office. I do like being around people, but it makes you. I forgot what it was like to be around people in an office environment. As I said to you the other day, shared toilets. Not a fan. I've heard multiple people fighting for their lives in there now, and it's just too much.
Yeah, nah. Do you have water cooler chats, and do you get you go get coffee with people, or like spend half an hour in the kitchen, like just chatting?
Yeah, I guess I'm doing a lot of networking, socializing, talking stocks and bonds, talking ties and shirts, and office things. No, absolutely not. Talking a lot about Magic the Gathering, actually.
Yes.
Oh, shit.
Might just get really into Magic the Gathering. At 31, I might just become a big card-playing guy.
Okay, but have you seen the Doctor Who decks for Magic the Gathering?
There are Doctor Who decks for Magic the Gathering, what?
They've literally just... because they're doing like a bunch of collabs, right? And Doctor Who's been like the most recent one.
Yeah, there's a collab.
And like... Oh my god! Some of the artwork is really, really good. I was like, all right,
oh, really?
I see you. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've not played Magic for years because it ruined my life and financially ruined me. But the Doctor Who decks look really good. I was like, okay.
Interesting. I don't know how this opinion will go down with you two, but I think Doctor Who's a bit shit, really.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How's Rachel taking this?
Well,
so hard
this might...
to describe.
Yeah, because
I liked it when I was a teenager, but I can't do it now.
I agree. Post David Tennant, I think Eccleston and Tennant were great, and then post was shit. And then I liked before, but then also before was kind of shit. So when you said that, I was trying to work out like a balance of like, right, okay, but which Doctors were shit
honest.
and which were good, and actually, what is the bigger half?
I think and
I don't know.
That is. It's like 95% of it is pretty unwatchable.
It's like
no, like if you.
I haven't watched. I've really dropped off it lately, and like I'm trying to think of a way to describe my relationship with Doctor Who, and I guess the best way I can think of is to say I enjoy it massively for what it is, but at the points where it tries to be something more than what it is, I get very annoyed very quickly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think there's actually a word for that. It's called Stephen Moffat.
Oh, jeez, yeah. Oh no.
Come for me in the comments. Actually, don't please. I'm a very sensitive person.
Well, lucky for you, there's no real way people can come for us yet because we haven't
that's
set
a good
anything up.
point.
So.
Oh yeah, actually. I would totally agree with that. Because, like, I grew up with Sylvester McCoy. Like, Sylvester McCoy was my doctor when I was, like, younger. And even though he's, like,
Really?
the goofiest motherfucker ever. Oh, yeah, he's, like...
Is he the celery one?
No? Yes?
No?
Did he have
I
celery?
think so.
Did he have some celery in his jacket?
Wasn't that Peter Davison? I'm going to really show my lack of knowledge
Okay.
of classic Who here, and my partner is going to be so annoyed when he listens to this because he loves classic Doctor Who.
Tom Baker was jelly beans.
And the big
So-
scarf.
Maybe.
Sylvester
Yes.
McCoy was, like, question mark umbrella, question mark, like, suit.
Oh yeah, he did have the
Yes,
question
the-
mark umbrella,
But
didn't he?
I'll tell you
Best.
what, and I will fight this to the death.
Okay.
Ace, his second cohort, was the actual best person ever. Like, I'm sorry, I love Rose and
Yeah.
Donna and all of that. Absolutely not. Having a punk with a baseball bat fighting aliens. There's a gif I'm in love with where she literally takes like the top half of a Dalek off with like the baseball bat, and it's the most iconic behavior I've
Oh
ever
yeah,
seen.
Ace is amazing.
What?
Have you read
Hands down.
Sophie Aldred's written a sequel novel about Ace?
Did not know that. Again, I've kind of fallen out of Doctor Who, but I would totally read that. Like, she was my
Yeah, I
idol when
bought
I was
it.
younger.
I bought it for my partner one Christmas because he loves
Yes.
Ace. He also
Yeah,
loves
Ace is the best.
I don't think I've ever actually watched any Sylvester McCoy episodes, which means that my opinion irrelevant. But get used to that, listener.
I thought you were going to say, but I still feel the need to share it passionately.
Yeah, of
Because
course
I'm
I
on
do.
the internet.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
But like, I don't know, recent Doctor Who is rough, and like you can honestly tell because they're bringing David Tennant back for like those episode specials, and you're like, oh girl,
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
Laputi as the new Doctor. Do not.
The thing is, the casting's always great. The casting's always great, and then it just...
Yeah. It's let down by all other aspects of Doctor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He looks amazing. The drip.
Oh yeah, the drip is
I can't
impeccable.
wait.
I agree.
I did have to watch the one scene with Sacha Darwin dancing around as the Master to Rasputin by Boney M, because that is very relevant to my interests, but I have not otherwise watched Doctor Who in quite a long time.
Yeah, nah. I just don't think it's been that good for a while.
No.
But I don't think that's an unpopular opinion. I think that's the general opinion, is that like, I think people kind of are a bit wishy-washy when it comes to like, oh no, I think it was pretty good, like past Matt Smith as well. But I think the general consensus is 100% Jodie Whittaker got so fucked over, it was unbelievable.
She
which
did.
is the most
She did.
saddest
Oh, they
thing
did
ever.
her so dirty.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well,
everyone agrees with
absolutely.
that. And then it depends, like people are like Tennant era, Matt Smith era. People kind of get a bit wishy-washy, but ultimately it's not great anymore. But hopefully that'll change.
Welcome to the Doctor Who podcast.
Oh my god.
We're going to watch
so
every single
bad.
episode of Doctor Who because they're now all on BBC iPlayer, so we can literally do
Oh.
that. We can
I
start
haven't
God.
even
with
thought about Doctor Who in months. I was not prepared to come in and talk about Doctor
Yeah,
Who for
neither.
15
I haven't
minutes.
thought about Doctor Who in years. And then, how did we even get here? Magic the Gathering.
Magic the Gathering. There we go. Liam.
Oh yes,
Liam
yes,
was
yes,
getting
yes.
more and more into Magic the Gathering, and then there's a Doctor Who. Okay, cool.
You remember when we started this episode, Rachel, and you were like, "We're gonna keep it on schedule. We're gonna."
Well, I've put aside 20 minutes, and we're coming up
Did
to
you actually?
yeah, and we're coming up to like what 6, like maybe 17, 18.
Wow.
I just remember we have to put a pin in the thing. Rachel, next time I'm going to host. I'm
Yes.
going to make you listen to these goofy facts. Don't click that link until next episode.
Oh,
So I'm gonna
shit!
make you listen to the goofy facts.
Should we just do it right now?
Oh, should we do it now? Yeah,
have
We
time,
can do
we
it
have
now
time.
if you want. We can
We
do it
have
now if you
time.
want.
Let's do it now. No, we're doing it now. Right.
Okay,
So
okay, set the scene.
here's some
Set the scene.
context.
Set the scene.
The scene of this is Rebecca has sent Rachel a cracked article
Yes.
of goofy facts. Listener, you might be new to these Indieventure
God.
parts, but we used to do a podcast called Indiscovery, and during the course of that podcast, I think it's fair to say we learned a lot about ourselves.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We learned about an obsession. Is obsession the right word? Infatuation.
Yeah, I
that
think
Rachel
obsession's a
has
bit
with
week for this, to be honest.
Yeah.
We need something better.
Rachel's obsession with famous Disney freak Goofy.
Yeah, we're freaks together.
And
I appreciate
Rachel
that.
wants to be Goofy's wife.
Or Goofy, maybe. Oh, that's too much. That's too
Nope,
much.
that's staying in. Rebecca has sent
Yes.
this list of goofy facts that Rachel is now going to read and react to live on
God.
air.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just read the headlines and then maybe deep dive on the ones you find interesting because it's a fairly long list. But
Okay, I will.
You'll
I'll
see
click-
the ones. You'll see
Okay.
the ones that are meant to be like.
All right.
The last one is the one you really need
It
to
really
make a
needs
big
All right,
to
deal
build
I'll go
to it a
really
bit
quick.
though. Needs to build to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
15. Some people think that Goofy is a cow. Okay. I don't really see that at all. He's a dog. 14. Not a dog? Is Goofy a dog or not? No, he is a dog. Okay, next. Okay, we gotta hurry these up.
Okay.
Origin of Goofy. Bit too long, can't be asked. When Art Babbitt first met Goofy. Oh, is that one of the animators? Okay, cool, cute.
I think that's the voice actor.
Oh, is it the voice actor?
Yeah.
Okay, voice dialogue. I mean, the one thing about Goofy is his voice, so that's actually generally really interesting. So let's go.
Did you tuck your hair behind your ear when you said that?
Yeah, maybe.
Oh my god, a little
I
flirt
mean,
talk. Yeah.
a goof with a different name. He became the working everyman, and even getting himself a new name. George Jeef. George
What?
Jeef?
I didn't read this other than the last one. What do you mean, what? His name is George Jeef.
Getting himself a new name. George
What?
Jeef.
That's when Goofy went into witness
He was
protection.
married to a human woman and had a son, George Jr., who didn't have dog ears. I've gotta watch this video. It was called Father's Day. What the fuck? Okay, we gotta keep going. That's quite
We gotta
interesting,
keep
though.
going.
I don't know why he's called George, though. What the fuck? The theory that Goofy accidentally killed his wife.
Yes.
Here we go.
In the 1990s cartoon Goof Troop, Goofy is portrayed as a single father with son Max. Yep. The show suggested that Max's mum died because his dad wants to get the perfect picture on the Grand Canyon. Goofy sadly remembers a summer vacation when he lost the missus in the Grand Canyon. Seems he was taking a picture by the canyon where he asked her to step back a little further, hon. Of course, the last thing he heard was the little woman's "oh!" as she disappeared from sight. Goofy, no!
Your boyfriend's a murderer, mate.
My husband is a murderer.
Oh, brilliant.
Okay,
Absolutely
great.
perfect.
This was what I hoped
Wow,
for from
what
this.
a
This is so
wild ride. Okay, I guess I'm the third wife in Goofy's weird
Well, it
history
depends.
of...
Was the human wife the one he murdered, or was it's? There are more questions than answers.
Okay, this needs further investigation. I also need to properly read all these goof facts. Also, I've not looked at cracked.com in like a decade.
Yeah, I thought that as well, actually.
I still follow them on Twitter, so occasionally I'll get like an interesting looking article, and
Wow.
that just happened to come up the other day. So I was like, you know what? Yeah. That's
Wow.
What a roller coaster. Thank you, Rebecca.
I can't get over George Geef. George Geef is so cursed.
George Jeef? Geef? It was
Geef?
Geef. I don't know if I like that. I
No,
don't know
think
if I like that.
George Geef.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Anyway.
Indie games?
So the thing that I got to thinking about when we decided to do an episode along this sort of theme was that games that get released in kind of Q4, especially indie games, get really lost in the shuffle with things like Game of the Year voting and just all the, the wrap up, everything releasing for the Christmas, AAA's release for Christmas launch, and just things get so lost. So I wanted to draw a bit of attention to some cool games that are coming out or have come out recently, sort of end of September to actually September, October are the ones I've chosen, but my idea was to highlight games that are coming out in the last quarter of the year that people might miss just because there's so much going on at this time of year. And I would hate for people to miss them because they look really, really cool. So I'm just going to quickly go through some games, some indies I'm still excited for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
The first of which is Underground Blossom, which is the...
Ooh.
I want to say...
Keyboard sounds incoming, listeners. From
I know,
me and
literally.
Rachel.
I want to
Oh,
say
of
the
course.
17th, Rusty Lake. It is a Rusty Lake game.
Lake.
They tend to bring out a new one every year or two because they're very short. very short games, but they are really brilliant. I don't know if I've actually, like, Rusty Lake games are just constantly ticking away in the background for me, but I don't know if I've ever mentioned them on a podcast before, actually, at least.
You have
more than
a
in
few
passing.
times, but yeah, it's always been sort of in passing. So do you want to just give like a brief overview of what the Rusty Lake series is?
So Rusty Lake started, it used to be called Cube Escape. They've sort of like soft changed the name at some point, but the early games are called Cube Escape. So the idea is they like digital escape rooms. Like they used to be flash games, right? They started off as these in-browser games. They take about half an hour or so to complete, and you're just doing escape the room stuff in them. But the cool thing about the Rusty Lake series was that they were all telling this like ludicrously interconnected narrative. So you're seeing little tiny snippets of this story through all of the different cube escapes, which culminated in I think it was Cube Escape Paradox, which I actually just played for the first time. I realized it was the only one that I'd not played. So I played that for the first time last week. And it kind of wraps up the Cube Escape side of the story, and then the Rusty Lake side kind of is slightly longer, like 2-3 hour sort of more full point and click puzzle games that kind of flesh out the backstory of this. And it's all, the key thing, I guess, is that it's Twin Peaks inspired, and it is truly Twin Peaks inspired, not only in that literally it lifts character names and sort of the setup from Twin Peaks, but it is batshit nuts as well, which is, I think, you know, it very much, it understands the brief of David Lynch, in that it kind of centers around, it starts off being about this woman named Lara who's been murdered, very Twin Peaks.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. And a detective called Dale who's investigating her murder. Jesus. Very, very Twin Peaks. But it sort of expands out into the history of this town called Rusty Lake, which is where Lara was living when she died, and things that have been happening for generations in Laura's family and another family from the town. And every game fills in a little bit more detail around it, and they're all enjoyable as standalone experiences, but you really have to keep up with it to start to glean the real underlying story. And I think even when you know all of the stories, you're still kind of there like, what does it really mean and what's really going on? It is a sprawling like family saga on one hand. It's also about like various different cultural and like mythological understandings of rebirth and immortality and reincarnation and that sort of thing. It goes into like classical ideas of dark magic and that sort of stuff. It's really wildly complex for a series that you could play all of in like probably under 24 hours if you wanted to just bash through the entire series, you know. So Underground Blossom is the new game. It came out a couple of weeks ago at the time of recording. I think it was 27th of September it actually came out. And it goes back to the story of Lara, who's not really been a focal character in the most recent games for a while because it's been going back and back through this backstory of her family. So Underground Blossom returns the narrative to Lara, and it's structured as a train ride, hence Underground, through her life.
Oh, yeah.
So the various stations are stages of her life that as the player you go through, you solve puzzles. It's the very typical Rusty Lake. I don't say typical like it's a bad thing, you know, like typical as in the thing we've come to know and love and enjoy of Rusty Lake doing its thing of being very surreal, sometimes quite, I was going to say gross, sometimes quite gross puzzles. There are things that are gross in these games. What do I mean? Sometimes quite scatological, sometimes quite, you know, quite visceral. There we go. Word. As soon as I've said the word I don't mean, I find all the words I did. There we go. But it's just, I'm always, whenever a Rusty Lake game comes out, I'm always down to try another one. It can be really hard to keep track just because they are quite prolific. Like I say, they usually release a game every year or two.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously for that reason as well, it can kind of fly under the radar, which is a real shame because I'm looking at it on Steam now. It's got overwhelmingly positive reviews. I feel like it's one of those series that has its really, really adoring, like, core fan base now.
Yes, yeah.
I think if there's anything to be said, it's that they're maybe not breaking into new fandoms as much, because I don't know how intimidated you would be if you just saw this game and then realised it was like the freaking 17th in a series. But the thing...
Oh, is it number 17?
It's technically number 17, so they released like 10 games as one bundle because of the fact that they were very short. So it's like maybe game 8 or 9, but yeah.
Is that the Cube Escape collection?
Yes, yeah. So there's 9 in that. There's the Cube Escape collection, which is 9 games collected together. There's Samsara Room, there's Cube Escape Paradox, and then, oh my goodness, I'm not going to try and list off all of the other standalone ones because I will go mad trying to think of all the titles.
Wow, okay. Yeah, that's quite an intimidating prospect.
It looks so intimidating to get into, but there are 2 reasons that I think people should not be intimidated if they like the sound of a very, very Twin Peaks inspired, very surreal puzzle game series with the themes.
That's me. You're talking directly to me right now.
Talking directly to Liam. Okay. This is easy. I talk to you all the time. 2 reasons why you should not be intimidated to get into these. One is that they are very, very short and very, very cheap. Several of them are free. But you could own this whole series for like a tenner and you could play it in like 24 hours, like I say. It's not a huge time or money investment to get into it. Another reason is you can start anywhere with these games. There is no beginning point and end point to this story. It all informs this core story, but nothing tells the story, if that makes sense. You learn the story through your engagement with all of the different puzzles and games.
So if I played Underground Blossom...
You could start with it, I'm sure.
So there wouldn't be any references in that I would get? I wouldn't be like, oh, that finally makes sense.
There'll be references, but there'll be callbacks, but there'll be call forwards. You know, these games throw things in, you know, it is a series about rebirth, and it's a very cyclical series. Everything connects to everything else. It's a circle. There's no entry point that makes more sense than any other.
Okay.
And because the puzzles are so compelling and like cool, and they just like, you know, the puzzles always stand up no matter how invested you are in the story of the series. Yeah. So the front of your brain is solving these puzzles and the back of your brain is absorbing the story, and that's where you get into Rusty Lake.
Yeah, because like I played Rusty Lake Hotel when it first came out years ago, and really was like, oh, it's just weird for weird's sake. Like I really didn't click with it at all. But the idea that it's now like it's like a saga of all these like little cool individual puzzle games that all kind of connect, that really appeals to me. So I might try give them another go.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I have just said there's no bad point to jump in. I think Hotel I wouldn't say it's a bad point. I actually think Hotel is a fairly good start, but it is an outlier stylistically.
Interesting.
Because of the fact that they're all animals in Hotel.
Yeah.
And the question of how literal that is like one of the big questions in this fandom, is like, how literal is it when they're all animals? Because like everyone, or a lot of people in this series, they have an animal that they embody, they might turn into after they die in a sense, or they might appear as that animal, but how literally are they the animals in Hotel is like a really big question.
Okay.
Do you know how we always say we should do an episode where we all play something that we haven't played before?
Yeah.
Like I think we should do a big Rusty Lake. That'd be quite fun because
That
they're
would
quite
be
short,
fun.
they're quite piecemeal.
Yeah.
Rusty Lake episode.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. Because these sound great.
Yeah, I'm obviously really. Rusty. It's one of those things that, you know, there's like a thing that's kind of in the background of your life, and you forget about it for 11 months out of the year, and then there's like a little update on it, and then you're just back in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely me with Rusty Lake. It's like just intermittently remember it exists. There's usually a new one, as I say, every 12 months or so, and then you're like, oh, cool, and you go and have like 2 or 3 hours just really getting invested in Rusty Lake again.
Nice.
Yeah,
that is cool.
Okay.
There we go.
That is a very good one. Underground Blossom. Added it to my wish list.
I was like, while you're there, do you want to add the other 16 games in the series?
I did that as well.
Oh no. At least I'm not spending too much of your money for you this time, because they are very cheap.
Yeah, this one's a $5.
Yeah, and that's like one of the more expensive ones, honestly.
Your second one. Yes.
Yeah,
what's
still
next?
Me representing Q4 2023, Rebecca Jones. My next one is a game that is coming out, I think it's a week from today at the time of recording, so that's the 19th of October, which is Inescapable, No Rules, No Rescue, which is a game that I've had my eye on for at least a year. It's got to be at least a year, because I've definitely wrote up about it at the start of this year as one of my most anticipated games of the year, and it's actually coming out. I actually got my my review copy today, so that's exciting.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
So, this one.
Yes.
Okay.
I remember this.
I'm gonna run through this real quick because I've read some cool stuff about it since I last kind of did a little recap on it. Inescapable is one that I've been really, really hyped for ages, because as listeners to a little podcast called Indiscovery will already know. You invoked the name first. I am only following your lead.
It sounds good.
Sounds bad.
Yeah.
Sounded like it was good for 15 episodes, but
do not. Inescapable. We can't escape this fucking Indiscovery.
Oh my god. Yeah, people who have read or listened to my stuff before know that I am really, really into Danganronpa. It is definitely my sort of current long-running hyperfixation is trying to like finish that entire series. It's huge. But because I'm not I'm not like a trailblazer for this sort of thing. I got into Danganronpa when it was having a bit of a revival in 2020, and a lot of other people also did. And now you've got a lot of games coming out that are very heavily inspired by Danganronpa. Unsurprisingly, it's been about that sort of time. Inescapable is one of them, and the reason that I'm currently very excited for Inescapable, though, because when I first saw it and when I played the demo back in June, I think it was, I was like, okay, this is doing the Danganronpa thing. It's like collecting characters in a remote location, putting them into this situation where it's like a killing game is the idea. So it's like locked room murder mysteries. Everyone has to kill each other as part battle royale, part, as I say, murder mystery. The thing that Inescapable is doing, though, apparently, I read an interview with the devs a few weeks ago, it branches a lot more than the Danganronpa games or the Zero Escape games, the other games that have inspired it a lot, which is an exciting prospect to me, because I don't think branching narratives are a thing that's missing from the inspiration. I would say that that, you know, the sort of the kind of gold standard Spike Chunsoft games that inspired it are very, like, the narrative is very well thought out. It exists that way for a reason. I don't think it's a bad thing that it's a linear narrative. But these games run off of, like, this big cast of characters, and you're going to have your favourite. And most characters are going to die, and that means your favourite's going to die. And there's always this part of you that is like, wouldn't it be nice if you could change the outcome of these games? And so Inescapable's kind of doing that. It's putting a lot of different branches in. The mysteries are different. The survivors are different. There are apparently routes where nobody dies. There are routes where it goes into a completely different genre. Apparently, they're saying there's like a dating sim route if you play it just right. You know, it kind of
killing game where no one dies sounds
a killing game where no one dies. A killing game where everyone is just friendly and going on dates with each other sounds cool. There's like, you know,
that's
it's quite experimental. And suddenly I'm looking at it like, you know, this is actually doing something way more experimental with this genre than I was appreciating up until this point. And obviously, I've not played it yet. I don't know how it's going to work. But from what I've seen about that, I'm super excited to see, you know, how they handle that. I like to see loving homages to the things that I love, but I also like to see a new twist on things. So very excited to see where this goes.
So I'm guessing that the killing games stay the same, but your decisions and events, the people change with
I literally don't know. I mean, it sounds like it would be
good.
Incredibly complex.
That's an
interesting
idea.
As with most things where choices matter, there's got to be a break. There's got to be a limit on it, right? But you know, I feel like I'm interested to see. One of the reasons I became a guides writer is I love taking games apart and seeing how they work, and I am intrigued to get into this. Not as someone who knows anything about coding, I don't. Just as someone who is willing to play the same game 6, 7, 8 times to find out what every choice leads to. Very interested to see how they've constructed this one. And, like, obviously, with all of these things, I have no reason to disbelieve that this is what this game does. But marketing and, like, hype interviews, you got to take with a pinch of salt. Like, how branching can it really be? But it could be quite, you know, visual novels can be quite branching. So, well, you know.
I always think there's, like, the thing about visual novels is that they are simpler in terms of their presentation than something like a Baldur's Gate 3, right?
Right.
You're not using 3D models. There is sort of this expectation that you were able to do more with less when it comes to sort of these kind of things, right? If I did a text adventure, you could probably do more branching narratives with that, right? But I always find visual novels, I think because there's so much bespoke artwork in them, and Inescapable is the same. There's a lot of very nice anime artwork in this. You've got to wonder, like, have they found that balance between that, right? Like, they have the opportunity to do a lot of branching things with this, but they've also got a lot of, like, custom art and characters.
Exactly. I mean, it's fully voice acted, which even like the Danganronpa games aren't. Okay. And so, you know, obviously that's all like a voice actor's work with every branch that you do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just really interested to see how far this can branch. You know, it's gone from, I'm excited to play this game because I love this thing and I want more things like it, to I'm interested to assess this on its own merits as well as on its merits as a pastiche and homage, you know. So
yeah,
it's kicked up a notch for me.
On the flip side of that, though, the good thing about mysteries and detective games is that the victim is always really intertwined with motive and reason and, like, but if that can change, like, will that, because I mean, Rebecca Danganronpa, right, it's like those, like, the people that get murdered in that, it is horrific because it always relates to them, and the reasoning is like, oh, it can only happen to this person. And
the victim is very deliberate. Yes.
Wrenching about it. You're just like, how dare you? He was a good boy and didn't hurt anyone. And all of a sudden,
this to my son.
Literally. Sorry, I didn't want to give you flashbacks there, babes.
Oh no.
So that's what
I'm always having that
like,
flashback.
You're always there.
I'm always there. Anyway.
So like, in terms of if that aspect of each mystery changes, will that, like, that's what I'm quite keen, because it sounds so good, but like, will the punches connect if
that's
the
a good
person
point.
Keeps mixing all the time?
Because I mean, there's no reason to believe it's like fully procedural, right? I'm imagining it's more like you choose a path and you're on that path. But I mean, depending on how much movement between paths there is, you're right. It could kind of, you know, as with things like Danganronpa or with Ace Attorney, which we talk about a lot, it's like there's setup going back like ages and ages in both those series. You know, things will call back basically to previous games, not just to previous cases, to establish why a person will suddenly behave in the way that they do. So I'm just really interested. I have no idea how this is going to shake out, but I'm, as I say, it's become more interesting to me because of the things that it's trying to do to kind of flip your expectations of how that genre will play out.
I'm way more on board than I thought I was. I've already added to my wish list. You made me think a little bit there, Rachel, about Shadows of Doubt, which I think you reviewed earlier this year. And that sounds a little bit like where your concerns might be stemming from, right? Is this entirely procedurally generated world where anyone can be the victim and anyone can be the perpetrator?
Yeah.
And obviously this is way more authored than that, but I do totally get that, you know, Danganronpa, the story beats in that are so carefully authored to give that tension, to give that emotional impact. I'll be curious to see how this... And to be fair, you know, like you were saying, Rebecca, it might just be marketing spiel. We might play this and there might be 3 different endings, which is still great. But like, yeah, that's really interesting. Last time we spoke about this was on a very, very early episode of the other podcast. And there was only just one screenshot. Can you remember?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was like 1 or 2 screenshots.
Like our second episode back in January, right? So I think
it was in January. Yeah,
it's
if
come a
not
long
last
way.
December. Yeah,
oh my God,
so it's amazing it's coming out this year. So like, good for them. I'm really
absolutely.
I
mean, to be honest, to be, you know, the most brutally honest I'll be more interested to play this, even if it's just kind of like an experiment that doesn't land. I think it still justifies.
I love games that that though. Like
you know, take the shot, and I will, you know, still be so interested to see what you do in trying to move a genre forward.
100%. We love that.
Yeah.
Should be our saying. Was it logo? Not logo.
Motto.
Was it when you have a motto?
Motto? Yeah. Do you think
Mission
it's like
statement.
not beneficial that we record
Mission statement.
podcasts at like 9:30 at night now? Do you think we've done ourselves dirty?
I don't know. I think that my real personality doesn't come out until about 9 p.m. So.
Oh.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I love that too.
Different vibe.
Exciting.
Yeah, too tired to care, really.
That is a vibe, though. Do you
I
know what I
know.
mean?
Yeah,
That
it
is
really
such
is.
a
I love
vibe.
it.
It's
Yeah.
like, all right, so just for context for our listeners, the ridiculous week I'm having is I'm trying to 100% Spider-Man 2 as quickly as possible to write guides on it. That is my day-to-day. That is my day all day, every day at work at the moment. I don't know how to process how ridiculous that life is, and it leaves me very tired by the end of the day. It's like, you can never complain. It's a good job to have, but
You can complain.
just makes you feel weird by the end of a day.
It makes you really... The only time I've ever done that as intensely was when I was reviewing Monster Hunter Rise's Sunbreak expansion.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I played like 40 hours of that game in 6 days.
Jesus.
And it like... I almost feel like rattled. I couldn't describe it. It almost felt like I was overstimulated all the time.
You're overstimulated because you're doing this thing that you're meant to do for like 2 hours max at the end of a day, but you're doing it all day in the middle of the day, and you can't stop if you want to because it's what you're being paid to do, and it's weird.
And you're
it's
cramming
a weird
it
feeling.
in as well, right?
It's
you're like
so
you're like
weird.
rushing through it as well.
Yes.
So you're not even like soaking it in.
Yeah, for sure. It's a very strange
Yeah.
experience, and it's making me want to play some indies. That's got to be said for sure.
When it starts
Good,
to seep into your dreams. I used to literally dream about games that I was reviewing if I was like on the crunch.
Yeah, I've had that before quite a lot. Yeah.
Sweats. Ugh. No.
Shall I do? a quick honourable mention then? Because I was only going to do 2.
Please do.
Absolutely.
But then literally as I was on my way to start recording, something popped up on my phone about this game that looks amazing. So I'm bringing this to you
Spider-Man 2.
with no context.
You are Spider-Man.
Oh my god.
Feel
Spider-Man
like
2 is an
Spider-Man.
indie, right? That's where I'm at. That's where my head's at this week.
Spider-Man 2. You feel like Spider-Man.
Look, we can argue back and forth about what is and isn't an indie, but I think we should give Sony Interactive Entertainment a shot now. Oh my god. See, this is where my brain is. It's weird and wrong.
I love
But yeah.
it.
Anyway, literally on my way here, I read a quick article about a demo at the current Steam Next Fest called Little Goody Two Shoes.
Oh.
It is published by
Ooh.
Square Enix, hence my little insertion of the suggestion that we shouldn't totally.
Yeah.
But it is an independent developer who are being published by Square Enix. Literally all that I know about this game is that the tags on Steam, the top tags, are adventure, RPG, horror, dating sim, LGBTQ. So
Actually, if you click on the little plus, it says Rebecca Jones as a tag as
I
well.
thought it might somehow.
Interesting.
Yeah, they could save a lot of space there by just putting Rebecca Jones
Yeah.
as one tag instead of all of these ones, yeah.
Right? So yeah, it's like a sort of dark fantasy. It uses the word phantasmagorical in its little snippet on Steam.
Oh, hell yeah.
A phantasmagorical
Incredible.
horror narrative adventure where all your decisions matter. Venture into the woods as you play Little Goody Two Shoes. So that one's out on Halloween, but it's you can play the demo at Next Fest at the moment. It looks really good. That's it. That's what I got.
It looks like Card Captors, the
Oh my god,
Art
it is
style.
giving that.
isn't it? So, right, what's going on with Square Enix this year? Because they are publishing so many little things.
They did Paranormasight, which is honestly one of the best
I know.
AAA games
Yes.
that I've played this year. It's so good. And that was an in-house
Mhm.
one.
Yeah, Paranormal Sight was aces.
So good. Yeah, they seem to be,
Damn.
as a lot of big publishers are doing at the moment, kind of diversifying, getting some indie devs on the roster, which I approve. Honestly, it's nice to see indie devs get theirs a little bit, you know?
Does this mean that Power Wash Simulator is fair game for this
I
podcast?
would argue yes, and not just because
Oh,
I've played
for
like
sure.
8
I would
hours
think
of it
so.
over the last 2 weeks, in addition to all the other stuff I'm doing. I'm so obsessed, Liam.
You played it on your Steam Deck?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
so good on the... Yeah, it's the perfect
It's
Steam
the
Deck.
perfect-
game.
Steam Deck
when you've been grinding one game, playing Power Wash as like a little break is
Yes.
Because it's
I
like power
matched-
washing your brain.
Yes,
It's like
so
just-
well.
It is.
yeah.
It's like a colouring book. It's basically one of those adult colouring books, right? But in
It
reverse.
is. It
and you're
is.
just...
Yes, it is.
Oh,
100%. Do you reckon if someone could like screw off the top of your head and just like power wash your brain for a bit, that would feel really good? I think that would feel really good.
yes.
Okay, but you
I
know,
do.
in The Night Before Christmas, I always
Yeah.
think about this, where the scientist opens up his head and he has like the squishy brain.
Oh, yeah.
Mm,
And imagine,
yeah.
power washing that, like literally what you said, but like getting in all the squishy crevices. And like he takes out half his
feel good,
brain and
wouldn't
he
it?
puts it into. But I always remember that, like, whenever you like someone's like, oh yeah, just open up your head and like wash your brain. I'm like, that's the visuals I get of like his squishy brain inside his head.
Yeah, I can see why. That's such like
Oh.
an evocative visual.
Squishy, squishy.
I have to bring us back just for a second to Little Goody Two Shoes before we move on, because under is this game relevant to you on Steam?
Yeah.
It is similar to 2 games I've played apparently. Dredge, which we love Dredge around here, and House Party. So I'm going to leave you
Okay.
trying to ponder the connection between Dredge and House Party and how you put those together and get a horror dating sim
Jesus.
LGBTQ adventure RPG. Phantasmagorical horror narrative where all your decisions matter. Yeah, there we go. I hope it's good. It looks good.
Steam is wild for
It
just
really
Steam
is.
recommendations
Sort of,
are
yeah.
wild.
They're just zero sense.
Absolutely surreal, the stuff it comes out with, but I love that. It's like Dredge and House Party.
It's like, okay,
Good, great.
if you say so.
It just why House Party? Of all that, I've played so many dating sims, most of them on Steam. Why House Party is the one that you're like, you like dating sims, for example. It's like, I'm not going to talk about your sort of 60 combined hours in the Monster Prom series. No, we're going to talk about the 2 hours you spent in House Party.
Oh, it's actually quite the algorithm's really powerful. It's because Doja Cat is in House Party and Little Goody Two Shoes. Doja Cat is in House Party, right?
I was
Add
like,
Doja Cat
I
to that game.
just like trying to process the Little Goody Two Shoes thing. Yeah,
Oh, I was trying to make a joke.
yeah.
Is
No,
she
I
in
thought you
House
were,
Party?
and like that was just. It's 2:30 at night for this for me.
I'm not
Yeah,
over
they
that.
added Doja Cat to House Party.
Yeah, she is, and the Game Grumps,
Slay.
which is honestly why I bought it. I bought it for the grumps.
Such a cursed game.
It's nuts. I mean, I do actually quite enjoy it. It's when I was younger, I used to play some of the Leisure Suit Larry games, like before I was old enough to question why my parents let me play Leisure Suit Larry games. And
Wow.
yeah, like House Party has a very similar kind of like sort of like sex comedy, and it's not like exactly enlightening or enlightened, but there's something like, I don't know, you see a lot of awful people kind of get what's coming to them, which I think can be the satisfaction in those.
Would you be up for doing? I was thinking about this the other week because I was re-listening to one of our old episodes because I'm a narcissist, I guess, and
Hey.
you were talking about Max
I do it as
Gentleman Sexy Good Times. You
Sexy
two are
business.
narcissists, it's just me. Sexy business.
Yes.
Sexy business.
Would you be up for doing, you know how you did a horror episode for that other podcast at one point where you just kind of like
Yes.
did a deep dive in horror?
Yeah.
I'd love for you to do like a deep dive into like the NSFW games on Steam that are like worth playing and the reasons as to why.
Sure, I could do
Because I
that.
think I never see anyone ever talk about that. As
That
like
would be
a genre,
cool.
and I think it'd be really interesting.
I would say that I feel like my expertise in that is a lot less comprehensive just because no one really, like you say, no one gets together and says like, what are the good games in this
Yeah.
in this
okay.
genre? Like horror, you know, you can get yourself a working knowledge of indie horror without playing every
Yeah.
single game. Whereas I feel like with NSFW games, it's more of a case of like you gotta figure out for yourself because no one's gonna tell you, which I'm sure there's a, you know.
Well, yeah.
Mm,
I just had a thought there of like Yoli walking in the room, me being like, "It's for the punk."
Yeah, no, I'd happily do that. I mean, it's like, you know,
Just turn
Cool.
around and just stare directly into her eyes.
Yeah.
I'm
like-
having a private moment. Life.
Slowly tab out the game.
Excuse me, I'm talking to Doja Cat. Can you give me a minute?
Oh dear. Yeah, I'm not familiar with the Doja Cat content, but nevertheless, I would definitely. Yeah,
I
I could do
I
some
remember
Doja
getting
Cat
a
spot
press
the arts.
release one morning.
You know what? I can already picture how I would resurrect the horror compass rose. I can't remember what we called it, but yeah, you could definitely do like the same concept for NSFW stuff. Honestly.
Okay, but
It
what
would
would
be
the
cool.
object be
Another horror
though?
episode.
It's not a compass though, is it? So Liam, what are your
Okay, yeah, let's move on. For God's sake, it's just don't put me on the spot like this.
So, Rebecca has guided us towards the very end of 2024, which is when I'm now going to pick up with some indie games from December onwards that I think you should keep an eye on. The first game I want to talk about is SteamWorld Build. Now, SteamWorld is a really important indie series that we've never actually spoken about, I think, on a
true.
podcast.
Because like who's played what out of the series?
Yeah, I was just about to ask this. So, what have you two played from SteamWorld?
Absolutely none for me.
And SteamWorld Dig for me, which was really fucking good.
Oh, and that's the only one you've played?
That's the only one I played. I think I
Damn,
tried the second
okay.
one after and I didn't like it. SteamWorld.
I didn't dig it.
Not Dig 2, but they released another one in the series after it. Was it Heist, maybe?
Oh, was it Heist? Oh, no. So, SteamWorld, if you don't
remember.
know, is this fantastic indie series by Thunderful, which every game is a different genre, but it's all set within this same world where it's like a Western with steam-powered robots, where you play as these steam-powered robots. So the first game they did was a tower defense game. Then they did SteamWorld Dig, which was like Mr. Driller and Dig Dug, where you were mining down to get resources and then you used them to upgrade and kept getting deeper and deeper. It was really, really good fun. And then they sort of went in lots of different directions. They then made a game called SteamWorld Heist, which I think is one of the best games ever made. I love SteamWorld Heist so much. It's a 2D XCOM, effectively, where you're these cowboy robots in space performing heists and doing these incredible trick shots by bouncing bullets around these 2D environments to kill these enemies. It's a brilliant, brilliant game. And since then, the team have grown, and now they're starting to give the license to other indie developers. So SteamWorld Build is by The Station. It's out on the 1st of December, and this is a city builder. So as a fan of SteamWorld, I was over the moon when I found out they were making a city builder. And honestly, I played the demo in January, and it felt really, really complete even then. But it kind of combines my two favorite management games together into one single game. So SteamWorld Build, you play it again as these steam-powered robots, and you're on a planet that is dying or going to be destroyed, and you need to try and leave it. Go into space with all your citizens. So you do this by trying to excavate ancient alien technology. So the game takes place over 2 separate layers. The first is on the surface, where you're building cities. This is a classic resource management city builder, a bit like the Settlers, where you're constructing supply chains. So you might build a woodcutter that cuts down wood, then you give that to a sawmill to make wooden planks, and that lets you create different objects and advance your city in different ways. There is also different classes of robots, and the higher class robots require more complex resources, which means that you've got to make more complicated resource chains. So it's very classic Settlers, like slow going, very chill, very well done as well. It looks beautiful. Very bouncy buildings, which I always like. Very nice animations. You can see clearly what buildings are what. But then the second layer is where you go underground and you dig out the earth in the same style as Dungeon Keeper, which is a game from the 90s by Bullfrog Entertainment, which is one of the first games I ever played, and I have such a soft spot for it in my heart. So you swap between the city layer, where you're building a city, and then you go underground, and it's a much more, I'd say it's a smaller scope of game. Instead of having thousands of robots running around, you might only have maybe 50. And what you do is you have to dig out tunnels to get to resource deposits. You need to build buildings by dragging them, just like Dungeon Keeper. So you've got to try and make the most out of the space. You've got to try and extract the resources. And this isn't in the demo I played, but based on trailers I've seen, eventually you'll go deeper underground, and it then becomes a tower defense game as well, where there's going to be aliens and bugs that are trying to get you. And both of these layers work in tandem. You swap between them instantly, and the resources you dig out of the ground lets you build different resource chains on the surface, and then the more you advance, lets you do more complicated things underground. And it's just so well done. Like, it's a fascinating city builder. And I've played a lot of city builders this year that just haven't done it for me, other than Against the Storm, which is probably one of my favorite games of the year. I've played, there's one called Pioneers of Pagonia, which is by the original developers of the Settlers, which I played the demo in the Next Fest and I thought it was a bit mid. I think they need to do something with that. It didn't feel very engaging, but SteamWorld Build is it. So if you're after a Settlers-like, if you enjoy Dungeon Keeper like I do, SteamWorld Build, you need to try this game out. It absolutely fucking rules.
It looks great. It sounds like they're doing a lot.
It sounds, I love those puzzle box games, especially when they're doing something like broadly cross-genre as well. I love stuff that does that, like, getting very inarticulate in excitement, because you mentioned Dungeon Keeper, and then I was like, oh, yeah, Dungeon Keeper.
You're a Dungeon Keeper fan?
I am by proxy. Friend of the podcast, Mick, was big into Dungeon Keeper for a while, so...
Lovely Mick, of course.
Yes.
Good tastes.
Yeah, I know. It's like, sometimes you see a game and you're like, I really want to play that. Sometimes you see a game and you're like, I know. Yeah, basically, sometimes I spend my own money, sometimes I spend his, and I'm like, you know what, you just enjoy this. I'm going to watch you play it.
Mick is going to enjoy this a lot.
Yes,
this
definitely
feels right up his street.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, talking across genre, that's the joy of SteamWorld. You know, every single game is just so different. They did SteamWorld Quest, which was an RPG with deck building mechanics, and they've almost like transformed Thunderful, the indie publisher, into like a SteamWorld house.
Yeah.
They did something with rebranding recently. They're doing a 3D one, I think. They're doing a full like third person.
This is the thing though, because like, not gonna lie, when you first said SteamWorld Build and I looked at the game, I was like, okay, but that the like art design wise, I just feel like they've just kind of lost something in that, no? Like, the steampunk elements and, like, how it looks. Don't get me wrong, this sounds incredible, but look-wise, I honestly wouldn't even know it was these, like, the idea came from Thunderful. Like, I wouldn't recognise this as a SteamWorld game at all. I wonder if they've lost something in the 3D. Visually, everything else sounds great.
You have an excellent point. I think it's not as colourful and vibrant as those other games. The other games have such a distinct visual style.
They are beautiful.
They really are. Like, Heist is stunning. Playing the Heist on the PlayStation Vita. What an experience.
Ooh.
This has a little bit of that. It has cutscenes. It has fully animated cutscenes.
Oh, yeah.
You have characters that talk, and that's classic SteamWorld style. And there is little things like you can build like a ranch, and the ranch is all like mechanical cows. And it has a little bit of that humour and visual humour.
Cute.
But I do agree. I guess just like a game like this wouldn't fundamentally work, would it? I was about to say it wouldn't fundamentally work in a 2D engine, but I guess like SimCity all the way up to SimCity 4 was basically still 2D, and that worked really well. So yeah, it's interesting. I guess like, I mean, I thought you were going to say, can we class this as indie? Because they might be veering now more towards AA, and I would have been like, yeah, you've got a point there.
I mean, I have no qualms. I
Yeah.
think it's fine.
Was there someone on this podcast who did have qualms with that? Was there someone who used to like King of the Stink? Or
I, for one, I will fight for our right to discuss AAs on this
Me
podcast.
too.
yeah,
So,
me too.
you know,
Yeah, absolutely.
They're cool.
Either way, but
Join the club.
Yeah.
Come on in.
So that is SteamWorld Build. Check that out. I think it looks great.
That's the thing. Regardless, it sounds amazing. Like
Exactly.
I
Oh,
would,
it's
it was just
so
a
good.
thing
yeah.
I noticed.
Yeah.
But like ultimately, it does sound great. So
yeah.
I think some people who are SteamWorld fans, I think they will look at this and be disappointed. I completely agree. I think there is a visual language that's lost.
Isn't that what
It
we were talking
still
about
looks
earlier, though?
nice.
It's like, I have a massive soft spot for franchises that just say we're doing a different genre of game now. And we're
Yeah.
gonna, again, it's about that experimentation, and not everything's gonna be
Yeah.
for everyone when you're experimental like that, but it keeps your ideas fresh. And
Yeah.
again, I'm more interested in an experiment that doesn't necessarily work than in just
Yeah.
seeing,
100%.
Well, the track record, they've hit every single genre they've covered has been like
hell yeah.
pretty good, spot on.
Yeah, I
Also,
think nothing lower than an 8 out of 10. Yeah.
how have I never played the steam-powered robot games before? Steampunk's like my whole thing.
I'm honestly surprised.
I
And
know, right?
If I was to recommend any, I think SteamWorld Dig 2 is really nice.
Ooh.
And if you do like tactics games,
And
I do think SteamWorld Heist is
Ooh.
an incredible game. It's a shame Rachel didn't gel with it, but I still think it's their best one.
Maybe it was SteamWorld Dig 2. I honestly don't remember. I think I just wasn't SteamWorld Dig, and so I was like, well, I'm
Yeah,
not playing
fair.
this. So maybe it was SteamWorld. I don't remember, but it was a long time ago.
I just added 50 quid's worth of SteamWorld games to my Steam cart. I meant to put them on my wish list. I'm tired.
Buy them.
Clearly.
Buy them.
Oh God, well, you have to do that now.
You know, they would all work, with the exception of SteamWorld SteamWorld Build, sorry. All the SteamWorld games are like prime Steam Deck material.
Yeah, they look
Ooh.
it. Oh, wow.
Tasty.
Okay. I have the next thing I'm going to get into.
Nice. We should do a SteamWorld episode. That might be
Oh,
fun.
yeah. Always nice to line them
Yeah,
up.
I'd like that.
Look what I have. I need it.
Oh
look
my
at that.
God. I want a fan. That
I
looks
have
so fun.
I use warm. Oh, it's a buy
Yeah,
fan as
I'm
well.
really warm. It's a Biflag fan because it's really hot in here.
I'm freezing. I'm wearing a big old dressing gown.
Opposite ends of the country when you think about it. So
Yeah, true,
it's
actually.
still
Yeah.
fairly warm on the south. It's 16 degrees right now outside.
It's just really
Jesus.
stuffy
10
for
o'clock
me.
at night.
That's scary.
I know.
But I can't open
right?
the window because the bugs will fly in. It's like an invitation.
Yeah, just.
Excuse me, hello. Can I
Get
come in,
out!
please?
Well, I live
Get
right.
out of here!
Oh, sorry.
I live close enough to Gatwick Airport that you can't really have the windows open when you record in this house. So
A plane will fly through the window.
it's actually not the planes; it's the traffic. We are the other direction from the planes, but the traffic is non-stop.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
A Boeing 747 will pop its snoot through the window.
That would be entertaining if
It's
anything.
snoot!
I probably wouldn't have much time to react before, but what's that? What's that old SMBC comic? It's like his final thoughts go. Wow, a Boeing 747, that's really close. It's probably quite a special one, at least.
I didn't mean it like in a destroy your house way. I meant it like it just like gently puts its like a horse
just
in a
really
farmhouse
friendly.
window.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't mean. I
didn't realise it was
like it smashes into your house at 400 miles an hour.
The snoot
I don't-
obliterating the building.
I'm really sorry to be like the harsh realist of the group, but I don't think there is a speed at which a Boeing 747 can come up to your house and it not cause some damage.
Yeah, they taxi. They can creep. They can be very gentle
Like a
when they
little
want
kiss.
to be.
A little
Yeah. You ever been kissed by a Boeing 747? What am I talking about?
What's happening?
Everything comes back to smooches with us. You notice that?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely, I do.
Just a little kiss.
I don't know
Just a
what
little
you're
kiss.
talking about, she says with her bi fan. Just
Girl, you look fabulous. You look absolutely iconic.
creating a
Was that
breeze.
from the
Yeah, I
that
love
from the
it.
Pride?
That was from one of the Pride events I went to, yeah. So
Oh, really?
Yes.
It's awesome.
Do we
I
all
love
just
it.
have I have. I don't have
Just
a flag,
genuinely need to fan
but
myself. It's very hot in
I have
here.
my pride stuff in mind.
Nice.
Come in plain.
Yeah,
Okay.
go to Rachel.
Give me a kiss. Boeing 747.
I'll
Let
do
me poop
this.
that snoot.
I'll do this, and then like it. I had a Twin Peaks one somewhere. Hold on.
Do you really-
Oh yeah, here it is. Here it is. We're massively off topic.
I was about to say, remember when we used to talk
If
about
I
we're
love
Indieventure?
it.
talking about
It's
pride, pride at pride. Oh god, this is fucking huge.
Oh, that is
Oh,
huge.
that's
and that,
brilliant.
this
This
is
is my
lovely.
pride flag.
That's gorgeous.
That's incredible.
I didn't even know that they did that sort of thing for Twin Peaks.
Neither did I.
Red bubble babes.
Ah,
It's
Red
not-
Bubble
It's
again.
not official. Red bubble. Get in
Oh
the
my God.
drawer next to my
Well,
ace flag.
friend of the podcast, David Lynch, is not going to be happy.
Maybe he will. You can never tell with that guy.
Oh, yeah. Good point. Yeah, true.
Yeah. He's not cancelled yet.
I mean, he hasn't been, but like, you've
He's
gotta,
one of the
like,
ones that's on the edge. I'm like, any day
Yeah.
now. You just
I'm
you
sure
just
we've done
stay
this
in your
before.
transcendental meditation bullshit and
Wait,
do nothing.
I'm getting the biggest case of deja vu. I think we've done this bit before.
we had this bit with.
Oh, that's very
Kate.
Lynchian in itself, isn't it?
It was
like-
Steve Martin last week, the last episode.
Oh yeah,
We
it
were talking
was.
about
It
Steve
was.
Martin.
Have we not
Yeah,
talked
yeah.
about David Lynch? I'm sure.
Maybe we
we're
have.
doing this.
Are we at the point where we're already repeating ourselves and we haven't even been making a podcast for a year?
Or are we in a time loop?
Maybe. I like that one more.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That one gets my vote. Time.
I mean, I would rather not be in like 2023 as a time loop, but sure.
Yeah.
With three besties stuck in a time loop,
At least there's besties. It's not so bad.
determined to never release a podcast. We always just are on the cusp
Oh my
of releasing a
God.
podcast.
Oh fuck no, that sounds horrible.
I have no idea how I'm going to cut this into anything coherent.
Oh
like,
my God,
there's
just
some gold
chop
in
it
here, but
all.
it's
We gotta practice. We gotta learn how to deal with the Thursday evening energy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
officially
It's
we
a
are off
matter
the
of
rails now.
practice. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we are.
Go on,
Yeah. Sorry, Rachel. Sorry.
Can't see the
timekeeper
rails
Rachel.
anywhere. Go on. Okay, who was next? Liam.
Liam.
I think it was me.
It was Liam.
Go.
Wow. I mean, this is going to be hilarious if it's been like 15 minutes of whatever that was and then like back into gaming stuff.
Yeah.
Right, what the fuck was I talking about? Okay, so Deep Rock Survivor is the second
Ooh.
game I wanted to talk about. I know that. Have you played this as well, Rachel?
No, I played a bit of the demo, but this is the new one. I'm
The
getting
new one.
confused. Sorry, I have played
Yes.
the demo, but nothing else by
Cool,
them.
yeah, same. So Deep Rock Survivor, it's out early next year. It's by Fun Day Games, but it's based on a game by Ghost Ship Games called Deep Rock Galactic. That game is it's like a co-op, not a roguelike. It's a co-op extraction game where you're mining procedurally generated caves in space, and you're all dwarves, like fantasy dwarves, but it's futuristic, and you've got to kill bugs. And it's brilliant. It's really, really good. I've had a lot of fun playing that game. James Archer, who we used to work with at RPS, is like obsessed with it. He's like
Oh,
so
really?
good at it. And once me and Ed joined him on a press preview, and James was like so good at it, and me and Ed were just like staring at a wall, like, oh, that's pretty cool. It's Big Ant. What's going on here? A fun memory of mine for RPS. What they're doing is they're doing a bit of a yacht club, and what Yacht Club do with Shovel Knight, where they're licensing out the Deep Rock brand to other indie studios
Oh,
to take
cool.
it in different genre directions.
Hmm.
So Deep Rock Survivor is a survivor game. I guess we're calling them survivor games now. It's like Vampire Survivors, basically.
Right.
It's a auto shooting roguelike, I
Mhm.
guess, where you play as a character who attacks automatically, and all you can do is move them around. They level up quickly, and you make decisions based on what direction you want them to go in terms of upgrades. But it's built upon this Deep Rock brand, so all of the iconography, the character classes, the enemies, it's all there. So you're fighting the same enemies you fight in Deep Rock Galactic, these like space ants of various sizes. Which is really nice. As a fan of Deep Rock Galactic, it's really interesting to play this or be in this universe in a completely different genre, and it really works. It fits. All the iconography of that game works in a survivor setting. And what makes this different to Vampire Survivors is it introduces the mining element from Deep Rock Galactic. So the maps that you're playing on are randomly generated, and there are natural caverns for you to walk through. But then if you walk up to a wall, you can dig through it. And you need to collect the resources that let you buy upgrades in between rounds. And that very small change makes it feel completely different to Vampire Survivors in a really compelling way. Because unlike in Vampire Survivors, where you're trying to sort of like control the spread of enemies as you progress through your 30-minute runtime, here you're trying to find resources within that map. And also you can sort of like create your own escape routes. Enemies will surround you and then you can just dig your way out of danger. And it also carries over a couple of other elements from Deep Rock Galactic, like an escape pod turns up after you kill a certain enemy. And then you have to get to the escape pod in 30 seconds, and you might be on the other side of the map. And you need to go through, I think it's 5 levels before you complete a run, quote unquote. And I mean, I played this demo for 45 minutes and I wanted to keep going, but then I realized my progress wasn't going to carry over to the full game. I was immediately hooked. I think this is an absolutely fantastic survivor-like, maybe the best one I've played since Vampire Survivors. Already felt very complete, really excited for the full game. And I had a thought, because I made that Yacht Club Shovel Knight connection, I reckon we'll see a Shovel Knight Survivor in the next year. Like, that just feels like something Yacht Club will commission to someone, or someone will pitch it to them. Like, I can see that working really well.
Yes. I mean, they've done a bunch of other genres, right? So it makes sense they'd do that one next.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks great.
Survivor.
It looks so polished as well. I think a bunch of the demos, sometimes you come across one that's a bit like, oh, I can see the idea, but ultimately it needs a bit of work.
Yes.
Like, when I played the demo with this one, I was like, this game could be out, like, next week. It was, like, so good. The polish was unreal. But yeah, not quite Vampire Survivors in terms of, like, scratching that itch, but definitely, like, up there with, like, explosions and like hordes of enemies. But unlike Vampire Survivors, like you said, like you can, like, if you're back into a corner, you can escape. And I think that is also like how you handle enemy hordes and like leading them one way and another. It's like the manipulation of like groups of enemies feels like a lot different. You have to think a lot differently. It's just really, I totally agree with you. It's really good. One of the best demos at Next Fest for sure.
You are right though about it. It doesn't have like the immediacy of Vampire Survivors, and I think that's by it being fully 3D, and it sort of lacks a little bit of like the exciting punch of Vampire Survivors. Like when you level up, it's like so snappy in Vampire Survivors. In this, it's just like a weird slowdown effect when you level up that I didn't like it. I found it quite like abrasive almost.
It's not as crunchy as Vampire Survivors. Like Vampire Survivors is like proper crunchy. You're like munching away like, oh, this is great. But yeah, you're right. This one feels more like, the slowdown thing does make a difference as well. It's just not as... I don't know.
Snappy and crunchy, I think, are the words I've used. I think you're right.
Snappy and crunchy, yes.
Yeah. Snap, crackle, and pop is what these games need to fully succeed, I think.
No, but like if you had I think snap, crackle, and pop, snap, crapple, and pop. They make good Vampire Survivors characters.
Very different.
Oh my god, yeah, 3 little fucked up like
three
gnomes.
Little fucking gremlins gnomes. Yeah, they're just like running around. That'd be great.
Oh, they should add them. Yeah.
And to this as well.
Punkle, Ponsel, go on it. Yeah.
Delightful.
And I do have one more. I'll be very quick about this one, but I really want to give it a shout out because I've heard no one talk about it. Can I very quickly go over it?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So this is a game called Go Mecha Ball. I don't know when it's out. I think it's very early in development. It's by a company called Whale Peak Games, who I did a little bit of research. I think it's their debut game. This is a roguelike where you play it as a little cat or a little cat-like creature in a mech suit. And the aim is to kill enemies and progress as long as you can until you reach a certain point, collecting resources and leveling up. It's a classic roguelike in that sense.
Ooh.
But the difference is if you stomp around, this is a very crunchy game. The feedback in this game is exactly what I was looking for. If you
crunch,
looking for that very crunchy. Liam like crunch.
Why is that like a mascot slogan? Like it's like Tony the Tiger-esque. Liam like crunch. Like you should be on the front of like the Coco Rock cereal box.
If we ever go to like an EGX as Indieventure, I should have a sticker I put on booths that just says Liam like crunch, me with my arms folded. Like, what does this imply? Oh, very good things, my friends. Keep doing whatever you're doing. So the real amazing twist to this game is that when you right click, you turn into a pinball.
Ooh.
And all of the arenas are built like pinball tables. So you can, the second you're a pinball, you move really fast. And it to kill the enemies, you've got very limited ammo, and it takes that great feature from Doom 2016, where if you bash an enemy as a ball, you get ammo. So then you've got to keep jumping between ball mode and mech mode to kill all these creatures. When you level up a little bit in between runs, you eventually unlock the ability to get more combos and get abilities the more combos you get. So then it's really encouraging to be super aggressive, kill enemies, be in your ball, get ammo, get that combo meter up all the time. And the core idea is there, and it absolutely rules. There were a couple of issues I had around things like button mapping, and there was quite a few bugs. I had to quit the game entirely a few times. But the fact I kept booting it back up, which is something I didn't do for a lot of games this next fest. No shade on those games, just sometimes you're like, I'm going to give this 6 months to cook, and I'm going to come back to it. Go make a ball. You're all sleeping on it. You're sleeping on this hit. It's got crunch, my friends. It's got that crunch.
Crunch approved.
Crunch approved.
When you're a mech, are you kind of slow?
Yep.
So the idea, so that like the switch between fast and slow. Oh, yes, yes.
And you can only have 2 weapons. You got to swap between the weapons, and you pick up weapons. One weapon's like a rubber duck that fires like
Oh my
3.
god.
It's like a shotgun. It looks great as well. It reminds me a lot of, what's the game?
Describe it.
I've drawn a blank. It's from like 10 years ago. You played as a rabbit in a circle wheel. Rabbit wheel game.
Oh
Let's see
god,
if I
good
can
luck
find
with
it.
good luck with that.
Okay. Yeah.
Hell yeah, Wrath of the Dead Rabbit. It visually reminds me a little bit of that.
I don't really want to type in dead rabbits, so I'm going to be very careful.
No, don't do that.
Yeah.
That wasn't, apologies, not an indie game published by Sega. Developed by, it looks like a company that's went bust. That's a shame. They went
I
bust
mean,
in
to be
2013.
fair, we've had the publisher discussion. I think you can still probably.
We have, true, yeah. But yeah, hell yeah, Wrath of the Dead Rabbit I liked it. Oh, it got...
shit. I
didn't get good reviews.
I entered the wrong year, so I can't see the page. I'm too young to see the Steam page because I put 2017 in.
Oh dear.
Baby Rachel.
I thought that was enough. I was like, surely that's enough. No.
For what?
Oh
For
my
what
God.
game?
To get the hell yeah rabbit punch.
Oh,
thing.
on Steam? Is it on Steam?
Yeah,
Oh,
I literally just
amazing.
like, and there was like, what's your birthday? And I normally I just pick whatever year, and I thought 2017 would be enough,
That's
but it's
so
not.
funny.
No. It's still quite young.
Oh, I have that on Steam. Nice. I might have to replay that.
Nice.
Yeah, sort of reminds me of that visually, but 3D. Go make a
Nice.
ball. Check it out. Rachel can't play it. It's
Too young.
but
It's just
Baby.
the way that I just accepted that at first. You know, like I put my year of birth in, and it said I was too young. I was like, yeah, that sounds right.
Girl, I'm not that young.
I know, I am the oldest here, but not by so much that it makes any functional difference. I don't know why I just accepted that.
But
like, so
is funny that we do refer to Rachel as the youngest when she's only like
that's what 6
10 months younger than me.
Yeah, it's 10.
It's not a lot.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
What are you on about?
You know, I'm like wizened 2 years older than you. Like, yeah, it doesn't actually make a difference.
After
but I'm like, oh
30,
god, I'm so old.
It's just
Oh, yeah.
all. Yeah, don't
It's just
pay
a-
attention. It's just numbers.
Right?
Yeah.
Just years.
Right? I don't think
Works
I've
in
had
the
enough
same
emotional
pot.
growth since age 31 to really claim any extra like life experience.
Yeah, I'm just.
mood.
It's over now. I'm just like vibing.
Yeah, just coasting on whatever I managed to achieve by age sort of like 29, basically. Yeah.
That is such a mood. It's over now. I'm just vibing. Yeah, I relate to that so much.
Yeah, actually.
It's like I've given up, but I'm gonna vibe my way to the end of days.
Honestly, but it is so freeing when you
It
start
really
living
is.
like that.
Yes, it really is.
Anyway,
Rachel, do you wanna-
yeah.
Do you want to talk about some games?
Yeah, sure. So my 2 picks are mostly based off all the demos I played from this year's Steam Next Fest. Played a bunch. Thought these 2 were the best ones. So I'm going to have a little chat about them. The first one is 1000X Resist, which is by Sunset Visitor. It looks like their debut game. It's being published by Fellow Traveler. So I was like, instantly got to play this game. Like, I love all the Fellow Traveler games. Like, I'm pretty sure, I think I like most, if not all of them. So I was like, yeah, definitely have to check this out. And yeah, this was my favorite game of Steam Next Fest. It's this kind of sci-fi thriller, but also it's kind of set in like quite a distant future. Like if you kind of like like detective thrillers, but sad robots, like a melancholy vibe, or like if you like Signalis as well, like this game is very much like that. And the setting is that, hey, guess what? All of humanity is dead. But this time it's because an alien life form came to Earth and brought with it a disease that killed all of the humans. It wasn't on purpose. It seems like an accident, but the only one person survived, a young girl, because she was immune. And from that, she kind of grew up, cloned herself, and now is the ruler of a new society of cyber women who are all clones of her. And in this demo, you play as one of those clones. She's called the Watcher. They don't have names. All these clones have just like job titles, but the Watcher has the ability to go back through human memories. So the idea is that oh my god, the opening for this demo was so shocking. Like less than a minute, I was like hooked immediately. There's like an opening cinematic where two people are talking to each other, and then like something wild happens. You're like, oh my god, and then you're suddenly thrown back in time. So the Watcher has kind of a suspicion against Iris, this last human who cloned herself, who now is known as the All-Mother, which is amazing. She has her suspicions around her. She's not quite sure. She says who she is. So the demo takes place in one of the All-Mother's memories from when she was a girl in high school before humanity was wiped out. So when she was like human, you're exploring her memories, exploring this high school setting, and there's kind of like this melancholy sadness. Like the school kids and teachers know that something is happening. Like people are getting ill, people are getting sick. If this is giving you a flashback to 2-3 years ago, then that's exactly the point. This game is very much tapping into that time period that we all went through. Yeah, people are getting sick, people are getting ill. No one quite knows why. I don't think the aliens are actually like discovered yet. But yeah, there's just this uneasiness. So you are embodying, like everyone sees you as Iris, but you're playing as the Watcher. And yeah, you're just going around the school talking to these students who are like scared, they're really uneasy, they don't quite know what's going on. But also you get to know Iris through these interactions as well, the kind of person she was. And she wasn't very nice. Like this teenager wasn't. It's kind of weird to say that teenagers not very nice. They're still like, formulating their sense of self and all that. But there's just this uneasiness in that about the kind of person she was when she was a teenager and then who she became as All-Mother. And yeah, it's just, the concept is fucking great. This detective, like, mystery hook is really fucking good. So there's, like, multiple memories and you can jump between them. So in one memory, if a teacher is standing in front of a detention room and is like, you can't enter, this is a detention room, you can flick through different memories so that when it's not blocked, enter the room, flick back to the memory, and then you're in the room, like the detention room. So there's, like, a bit of puzzliness to it. But ultimately, the thing that is great is the story. The story here is so strong. Like, I'm in love with it. Like, this sci-fi thriller is so shocking. It's thrilling. The ending was so interesting. There's definitely pandemic ties to it, but also this is made by, like, a Chinese studio, and so Iris is Chinese, and there's, like, a storyline with that, and it's just, like, it's just really great. It's so fucking good. And it was like, it blew me out of the water and I was like, oh my god, I need to tell everyone about this game. So yeah, 1000X Resist is
well, that was
I cannot wait.
Insta wish list for me. That looks so good.
I feel like you two would love it. Honestly, it's so good.
I have to ask you as well, Liam, I feel like I saw on your face, or Rachel was describing at the moment where you started thinking about Goodbye Volcano High, which is a game that we all played fairly recently. And yes.
I wondered if you
it's like making eye contact with you through Discord, like we had the same thought at the same moment, I think.
Which bit? I was waffling. Which bit?
The bit about the part in high school where everyone starts to realize something's going wrong. It's like, obviously, again, I feel like we discussed it maybe in the last episode where it's like you feel like Goodbye Volcano High was also responding to those, very pandemic era, if you want to call it that, themes of, of just that growing unease and being like a young person and not really being able to do anything about it. And But yeah, everything about this game looks so good. It's kind of giving me
It looks incredible.
a game I haven't finished, but I do intend to go back to one, is Haven. It's kind of giving me Haven vibes in the presentation. You know, the very sort of...
Let me see.
Sort of like 3D, quite stylized sci-fi, with a kind of... It's got the very... I think it's because like All Mother and like Hive is the thing in Haven, I think, and so it's kind of got that, you know, recognizably human characters, but they're not living in like a human society that we'd recognize, so it's kind of got that going for it
That's
as
a nice
well.
way of putting it.
But yeah, you had me at like future sci-fi thriller detective game with with all of this
all women cast.
So good. Yes, looks so
Definitely
good.
going to be queer. Definitely. These like the teenage storyline is like kind of hints maybe at like her preference, and is like, okay, I'm here.
And there's the fact as well that it's got underneath the page I'm looking at, it's got the fellow traveller other games flashing up, and it's just like Genesis Noir, Pale Beyond, Paradise Killer, Beacon Pine, Citizen Sleeper, and I'm like, oh yeah, they're just hit after hit after hit from this
fellow traveller
publisher. Yeah. So yeah, this looks like it's in incredibly good hands as well.
They know their shit. I feel like
they really, really do.
They come up with like, because Pale Beyond was earlier this year, so maybe they published like maybe 2 games a year, because Citizen Sleeper was last year, and Beacon Pines was also last year. So it's like they really you can just tell they specifically choose like projects to work on, and like each one has like such a interesting point of view.
Yeah, I love what they curate. It's so I need to play more of their stuff, because I always check out a little bit of something they've curated and goes straight to the top of my wish list, and then I have no time, but I need to make the time because it looks so good.
Yeah, I agree. I've only ever played Paradise Killer from what they've done. I can't believe I hadn't heard of this. This looks incredible.
Same! I was like, where did this come from?
This is too much.
All my life.
Yeah, there's a line, there's a line in that Steam page there that just like is so evocative. It's the idea that these ancient giant aliens approach Earth and they're not hostile, but they still kill all humans.
Yes.
It's just like, what an incredible idea. Of just,
they're
like,
called
these,
the occupants. Like they literally just like, they're just in the space. They're just there. They don't even mean to do anything.
That's a horrifying concept, but...
Do you ever think, like, this is probably really tangential and like 11 o'clock at night thoughts, but do you never think that that's like the most likely way that you would encounter aliens is just by stuff that doesn't really understand you and you don't really understand, and like
100%.
fucking each other up for that?
Yeah, they're going to be like beyond comprehension, right? That's what I always
like that cosmic dread that's present here.
Yeah, I love
Excellent.
that.
Oh man,
what a recommendation! Like, this podcast is always at its best when I'm sat here like, fuck, I'm glad I'm the first to hear that. Because, like, amazing.
It's like, just like the story as well. Like, it is just so inherently interesting. Like, I think this idea in sci-fi that, you know, humanity dies, I'm over it. I think stories are inherently interesting when, like, humanity survives something. But this one, I was like, nah, this individual and like her character and exploring that through different times of her life, and like, what if she isn't who she says she is? Like, what did happen? Like, what happened to Earth? It's like,
so interesting.
It's giving me like Soma vibes as well, because it's kind of asking that question of like, what is the survival of humanity? You know, what counts as human survival if it's just one person cloned over and over again, or if it's like, you know, digitized copies of the human consciousness? Like,
well, these are all like her consciousness as well. Like, these are all like part of her, and it's
that's that's intriguing. So they all kind of start from the same like beginning.
There's voice acting in here. The voice acting is fantastic. Like, there's one section which I think needs a bit more ironing out, and sometimes when you go back in time, there are like these quite abstract moments where Watcher is like, you're kind of like flying through the air, connecting to different points, but you're small in like it could be like a giant classroom that's like the chairs and desks are floating upwards, and you're like, as a small person, like like it's really abstract, and I don't quite understand those bits, but it's still really cool. Like, the vibe is like, okay, it's not taking me out, I'm into it, but also like, that's the only bit that sticks out for me. But in terms of like a banger of a game, this is pretty much there. It's pretty much
and I think it's got us all on board, which is always, I think it's nice that we have a fairly decent diversity of taste, but whenever we all agree on something, it's like, oh yeah, there's something.
Yeah.
Very
Absolutely.
cool here. Enthusiastic agreement from all three of us that this looks really fucking cool.
The opening as
I'm gonna download it.
I'm
Oh
gonna
no, I
play
have too
that
many
demo,
games to play,
yeah.
and I'm gonna play this demo as well.
Actually, yeah, I'm going to wait until it comes out and I'm going to experience it on a one go because I think I want to see it all in.
Yes,
in
because
one.
we talked about
Yeah.
sometimes where demos can.
I like that.
Yeah,
That's a
just what I
good
was thinking.
excuse to not rush to do this as well as all the other games.
Yeah.
I
Then
just
maybe
want to play
don't.
this year. Yeah.
Maybe don't, yeah.
God damn
yes.
it.
Cool.
So
That was
good.
my first one. My second
Yep.
one is Another Crab's Treasure, which is by Aggro
Yes.
Crab. We've
Nice.
talked about Going Under before on the podcast, the other one. Did we all dig to the idea? I played it and thought it was great. Did you guys play it? Or like we all were just, it was a cool
I
idea.
did not play it.
I played it, yeah. I
'Cause,
really liked it. I thought it was really good.
So I feel like with Aggro Crab, they kind of take these genres that are known for being one thing, and then they kind of make a game that goes against everything that would either make that genre kind of frustrating or kind of finicky or annoying. So in Going Under, their previous game, it was a dungeon crawler where you played as a intern navigating the basements of dead tech startups, and it was very satirical. It was very funny.
Yeah,
But ultimately, this dungeon crawl roguelike, not my genre at all. Like, unless you're like Hades level of like changing the genre, I'm not really good with roguelikes, especially like dungeon crawlers. But it was a really solid game. And they've done the same again here with Another Crab's Treasure. They've taken the Souls-like, something that I feel like a lot of people who aren't into Souls-likes, if they see something as a Souls-like, it's like, not a game for me, because they're difficult, they're hard to grasp the controls. If you're not into FromSoft, then essentially like that is kind of a genre that is not really for you. But Aggro Crab have been like, hold up a minute, game should be for everyone. So they've made Another Crab's Treasure, which is where you play as a very cute tiny mascot, this crab called Krill, who's exploring an ocean that is kind of polluted with trash and like cigarette butts and crisp packets and all this. And they're on an adventure to try and like clean up the ocean. So kind of like of the Souls-like format, combat is tough as nails. It's also super tight though. You don't feel like anything's unfair. Like every hit, every dodge like counts. Like the combat is very tight. And in the demo, this is another demo that was extremely polished. So yeah, I booted up the demo. Visually, it looks amazing. Like I love like games that are set underwater. Like it was awesome. Took on the first couple of enemies. Yeah, okay, I get it's difficult. Got to the first boss and got absolutely wiped, like completely and utterly. Tried a couple of times, I was like, whatever. The thing about this game is the accessibility settings are like really in depth, and that includes difficulty settings. So ultimately, you can change things like,
Nice.
and it's not even like you're immune. It's because I don't want to be immune. I want the challenge, but also I just want it to be like catered for my level of frustration
I get
or
that.
like hot-headedness.
Of course.
Definitely.
So there's different levels there's different like settings where you can like decide how many hits you want to take, decide how many hits you can take as well as hitting other people. But if you did want the option to one-shot kill everyone, they've included the option to basically deck Krill out with a gun. And you can one-shot kill enemies.
Oh, I saw some
with a
screenshots
gun.
of this.
Yes.
I remember. Yes. Yeah, I
So
saw
the
this
idea as well
recently.
is that you're picking up trash to use as like part of your like defense to buff up like your defense. You're picking up trash. When you take a certain number of hits, you can pick up a tin can and wear the tin can, and then it gets smashed after a certain number of hits. Then you can pick up a bottle top and a plastic cup or whatever. Like, I think there was a Lego brick at one point, which is very cute. But yeah, if you're like, I love this game looks great, I like the enemies design, like I like exploring, you can literally just give Krill a gun and just go to town and not have to worry about combat at all. And Aggro Crab are really cool about that. They're like, yeah, you play our game how you see comfortable. And I really appreciate that. So yeah, the demo was great. I had such a good time. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this game because of those settings. Like, there have been, from a couple of FromSoft games, which I can't God damn it, I wish I could play Bloodborne as like a fly, or like just like the camera mode where you can just explore that game, because God damn it, I don't have the patience to fucking dodge and weave this boss for like an hour. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm never going to do it.
Right there with you, Rachel. I'm right there with you.
Thanks, babes.
Have I told you what I'm doing this year? Is a mate of mine is coming over mine every other week, and I just watch him play Bloodborne. So I'm
the
just
story's
like,
so cool as well.
Yeah, it's like the world is everything about it's amazing. But yeah, I'm with you, Rachel.
Yeah.
It's like I could become good at FromSoft games.
Such a good idea.
At the expense of never playing another video game, and I'm just not willing to make that sacrifice.
Exactly.
well, that's where I'm at as well. But like,
need a
I
friend
want
to
to be
watch.
involved. Yeah. So just borrow my friend James. He absolutely loves these games so much. He just sits there and he just like does the bosses in one hit, so you get to see the boss in its full form, and then he'd be like, oh yeah, by the way, that was like this god, and this is what the lore dump is for this character.
So cool.
And I'm like, great, all right, see you in 2 weeks, we'll do another hour. Like,
Amazing.
but yeah, I know that like it's one of these like games industry discourse like beats that like keeps getting hit, like of, oh, should they have like accessibility settings? And like the answer is yes. Like I just think they should, because if you want it to be really hard, you play it really hard.
Right.
Yeah.
No one wants to take away the difficulty. It lets more people enjoy it, right? And I'm so happy that Aggro Crab are doing that for this, because I do really want to play this, but I don't want to play a Souls-like. So if I can tailor that to my experience, that's fantastic.
Right. It's like I like easy mode, like immunity settings, or just difficulty settings in general. If I'm not reviewing it or writing about it in any sort of critical capacity, you know I'm whopping that difficulty setting all the way down and just having a good time, because like that's my decision. Like, yeah, fair enough, if you're reviewing a game, you need to review it on like normal settings, or go for it if you want to put it on like hell mode. Everything is in hell and it's really difficult. Like, absolutely go for it and just have a great time. But for me, nah, girl, and I'm gonna be wandering around as a little crab dude. I'm gonna be scuttling along, like, it's gonna be fun. It looks like a fun game because of that.
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely about like how people's relationships with gaming is different, right? That's what it comes down to. Because like I said before, it's like you can be really, really good at Soulsborns, whatever we call them now.
Yeah.
It's very late.
Yeah.
I'm quite tired. And you can do that, but like that is kind of like, I don't know anyone who has that as their niche and gets to do everything else they want to do. Like, I feel like the three of us have this thing in common where we all kind of want to play a huge variety of games. And I think that there's not a huge amount of compatibility between that and being really, really into... I mean, some people will just be like great at Souls-likes, I guess. Fair play to you.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, for me, I'm just like, it's a genre that I'm like, I'm just not going to touch that, because I know it's a time sink that I just don't... And like, I don't know if there'll be a reward at the end of it. I haven't tested my own skills enough to know where the kind of line actually is for me. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that trade-off of not knowing. Like, I get no particular satisfaction from mechanical success in video games. And if you do, that's great. And I'm not saying that's anything against you. It's just not how I enjoy the medium.
Yeah.
So yeah, no. In conclusion, yes, accessibility in these games, fantastic. Sounds cool.
I'm not gonna get good for anyone.
Right.
No.
I'm gonna stay
get
myself.
good just because you tell me to.
I'm gonna be shit at combat, and that just deal with it.
Yeah.
I can't.
Sam.
I
Yep.
can't.
I'm terrible at games. I'm so bad at games. I play most of them on easy. I have no qualms with saying that.
Like same.
And I have a great time. You know, we were saying about mottos earlier. I do think the motto for this podcast is probably, sometimes it just ain't for you, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yes,
There's so many you can't play all the games. You can't do it, so you might as well get a good idea of what you do and don't like. And honestly, the moment when I realise I don't like something is always a little bit liberating, because it's like, oh, thank goodness. It's like, I can be glad it exists. Very happy for the people who enjoy it. But the moment I can put something down and go, not for me, actually quite wonderful in its way.
Oh, it's glorious. I completely
It helps
agree.
as well when there's so many good indies coming out, which are doing these genre-breaking things.
Yeah.
Like, wow,
Yes,
this genre's now accessible to me, and you're like, oh
sure,
god, but
yeah.
that's more games to play.
But it's good as well, because I always feel like
Beautiful indies.
you can look at something and you can go, I will go, if I ever decide to play a Souls-like, I will probably play this game now because I know that it exists and it's got that kind of like twist on the genre, and that's very cool. And sometimes you want to, you want to drill down, you want to know everything about a genre, and you want to go into every possible like side story and little indie project and everything up to the big AAAs. And sometimes you're like, I just want a little test, I just want a little taster. I just want to try one game and really love it and go, I've done it now. So
yeah,
I'm good.
It's a nice way of looking at it.
Yeah, I think it's out sometime 2024.
Is that anything?
Huh?
2024. Ignore me. It was not worth it as a joke. I said Shawls-like. Is that anything?
Oh, that's
good.
It's out 2024. Did you say? Move on. Don't perceive me.
You should shout. You should shout it next time. Be perceived.
Cut you out in the edit so it looks really clean.
Just put the volume up on the pun you made, but like so it's kind of like crackling the volume. Shows
I
like.
wonder if I could. Maybe it'd be quite a funny bit because, like, naturally, because we record these over the internet, sometimes we do like step on each other. It's just what happens. But maybe I should like boost the audio of one person so it looks like just like one of us is really rude and like one of us just shouts over the other person.
I do sometimes think it's like we're very lucky that you are a very, very nice person because you hold so much power to make us look
you
awful.
do. Twats. You can make us absolute twats.
Have we? Is that it? Have we spoke about the games?
Yes,
Have we
I
done
think
games?
that's a very good roundup of games.
Oh
Nice.
man, I've still got 1000 X Resist up on screen. I'm just like gazing at it.
So do I.
We are not a competitive enough podcast to declare like the winner of the episode. Slight shade on the other
Could you
podcast I appear on. I didn't mean to do that, but actually, yeah, go check out VG247's Best Games Ever podcast, which I also appear on if you want to see a podcast where things get randomly won. We don't do that here, but I think if there was a winner this episode, it would have to be 1000 X Resist. I'm sorry, they've got in my head. Oh no.
Another sticker on the booth. You've won.
Yeah, but there can be as many winners as we want. That's the delightful part of being a little bit more free and easy with it.
It's a bit like Valve, isn't it? Like, yeah, we're saying it's a flat hierarchy, but really, Rachel's won.
No. The person doesn't win, the game wins. I think that's how we keep it friendly.
No, I think we should reward individuals. This is now a competitive podcast.
Oh no.
Queer robots win again.
I mean, fair. Right. You know what,
Huzzah.
actually, another thought I had when I saw it was this kind of looks like if Detroit Become Human was handled. I don't know what to say, because I did enjoy it, but it was not well handled. So, like...
That's the most diplomatic way of describing the themes of that game I think I've ever heard.
That's kind of my relationship with all those games is I enjoy them. I genuinely enjoy them. They were not handled by a good auteur.
Girl.
And they would,
Girl, my one of that is Heavy Rain. I fucking love Heavy Rain, but I also fucking hate Heavy Rain.
I mean, it's
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. I think everyone who has ever loved Heavy Rain knows what you mean.
I know. Heavy Rain's my one as well.
Nam and Jaden. I loved him.
Heavy Rain's the one where it was all French actors that didn't speak English.
Yeah. The leads were all
okay.
British, I think, and every side actor was French doing American accents. So
yeah.
You know that game uses a load of music from Fortnite?
Really?
That's what I realised the last time I played Heavy Rain. A few years ago, it was like on PlayStation Plus, and Yoli and I started it. And there's like a bunch of like, I guess when Fortnite first started, it was using a lot of like copyright free or music from a library that Heavy Rain also uses.
Oh, no way.
So it's got like
revelation after revelation. But yeah, genuinely, it gave me that kind of vibe, but I feel like takes it a bit further. Doesn't play it quite as oddly safe. And I like that about it, you know.
Yeah.
Did you think of Detroit because I said hot queer robots?
Yes.
Because I mean that if look, detective like partner relationships are always like can be read that way.
Yeah,
and
I
I've
know,
seen
right?
enough
Yeah.
AO3 of those two to just the titles though I would never read. I'm a Christian woman and I would never read those.
In general, I would never read. I had someone else tell me the titles.
To avoid accidentally ever reading Connor x Hank fanfic, of Detroit Become Human. I never read. I simply don't read.
I simply forgot how to read.
Can't read.
Staring at an AO3 screen.
I love the idea that you know it's Connor X Sprout, but you can't read, but you know. You know.
You're like, I still know why. Why do I still know?
Do you know in Black Mirror where they can like block real people and then like go like really blurry? Like if you had like a really weird block in your brain, like a cyberpunk level brain chip that meant you could never read.
Oh my god, though.
But
then one fanfic they spell Connor wrong, and then it gets through the block and you read it and you love it. Like it spells Connor with one N or instead of two or something.
With
and
an
you're
E
like,
instead of an O.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Okay,
and then it gets through the block and you're like, I love this ship, and you're obsessed with the ship, and then you like trying to hack yourself to try and get rid of the block.
That's a game. Do you know how we said we'd make a game earlier this year? We're like, we'll make a game at some point. Should that be the game?
That's it. That's the pitch.
It's about trying to one of the endings is someone power washes the chip out of your brain.
Ooh. That's it, gang. Good job. Now we can talk about our outro, which is our hyperfixations. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first. I'll be quick. Shock. Liam read a book.
Oh God, Liam! I literally, if it's another sad book, I can't.
Rachel has her hands over her eyes right now, listeners. I need to know that.
You might not know this, Rebecca. The book I recommended in the last episode, Rachel read in the time it's taken us to record the second episode. Lonely Castle in the Mirror. And I got some amazing messages from you when I was in Spain. Yeah.
I cannot.
She won't look at us. Whatever Liam has done. Rachel won't look at us now.
Recommend a lot of sad books, and like a lot of them I'm like, it's too sad for me. But there was something about this one because I like worlds that are like only like certain people can access, you know, like kind of like Annihilation or something or whatever. So I was like, I'll give this one a read. Emotionally devastating. Emotionally.
It's so sad.
And like, I never cry over books. And I was like, I didn't cry, but I was tearing up. And the literal visceral reaction. Rebecca, I think you'd also really like it.
I think
it's
I would.
so good.
Love it, Rebecca.
I have been meaning to check it out. I forgot the title, but obviously I'll listen to the episode soon and I'll get it from there. Remind me of it though. But
when one of us edits it, you will.
Tell us what this other book is. Oh, I can't.
So I read this book. It's quite short, about 200 pages. It's called The Odyssey by Lara Williams. She wrote another book called Supper Club, which I haven't read, but I think Supper Club got quite a bit of traction when it came out a few years ago. So what I'll say is on the front of this book, it has a quote by, I think, Cosmopolitan that says, wickedly funny. It's not funny. I don't know. It's not a funny book at all.
Oh no.
Oh my God.
This is a book. This is like, I can't stop thinking about it. It's one of these books where you look online and people either love it or hate it, and these are always my favourite books. I think we've discussed this before. It's not funny. I think it's quite sad, but in that very specific way that unusual and unsettling books can be. It's about a woman called Ingrid who works on a cruise liner, and she's worked on it for 5 years, and she's worked on it for so long that she's barely ever left the ship for that amount of time. And she gets enlisted in a program by the ship's captain, which is this really exclusive program, almost like a bit of like a cult that certain members of the ship get selected to attend. And that sort of is the basis of the book, is Ingrid is going to this club with the captain, David, I think he's called. And then it just kind of spirals from there. And when I say spirals, I mean it spirals. It's quite quietly disturbing in an addictive way. Ingrid is not a quote-unquote good person, but she's one of my favourite characters in terms of just how much I didn't enjoy spending time with her and how I thought that was a real testament to the writer. It's just about like how this cruise ship has corrupted everyone's minds by how long they've been on it. And it's also it's maybe the best representation of extreme disassociation I think I've ever read, because they just live their whole lives on this cruise ship and they get reassigned to a different job every 6 weeks. So she's in a gift shop, then she's a manicurist, or she works in a pizza place, or she's a lifeguard even though she can't swim. And when it's split into 2 separate types of chapter, land and sea. and she's only on land for maybe like 30 pages in the whole book. And just the way that hits her by being on land when she's been on this cruise ship for so long is absolutely phenomenal. I don't think many people will like this book. I'm just going to say that straight away. But it's 200 pages, might be less than 200 pages. I read it in a day and a half. Yoli read it in a day and a half as well, I think. And both of us really enjoyed it. The Odyssey by Laura Williams. Check it out. A bonkers little read that I can't recommend enough.
It does sound really interesting. It's giving me, have you seen Triangle of Sadness?
No?
Ooh, nope.
Which is, I think it came out last year. It's a movie it's about a cruise ship. It's about the lives of various people on this cruise ship. Very similar. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give like the twist away. But it has the sort of like commentary on the things that extreme wealth have done to the people on the ship and the people who are kind of employed to serve them.
That sounds great. I heard a few people say that this was the one to watch over Glass Onion last year if you wanted
yeah, I've heard it as the Menu, Glass Onion, and Triangle of Sadness as the Eat the Rich trilogy. Is the way
I think you've said that to me
describe
before.
that. So yeah.
I need to watch that.
And I have seen all of them, and
definitely.
they are all very good. So I mean, to be fair, Glass
Nice.
Onion probably the weakest, but I love Knives Out, so that's
I did not
Yeah,
like
I didn't mind Glass Onion.
I liked it. I just didn't love it.
Fair.
I was
Yeah, I
like,
didn't
nah.
love
I was like this all the way through. I was like, nah.
Oh, I went to see. Speaking of things like that, I went to see Haunting in Venice the other day.
Oh my god, me too.
Yes,
Oh, yeah, what did you think?
it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I think Murder on the Orient Express is still the best one.
Yeah,
but
100%.
I think Haunting in
100%.
Venice, at least as good as Death on the Nile, maybe a little bit better.
I watched Murder on the Orient Express the other week based on how you two spoke about it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was fucking terrible.
Fair
But
enough.
he's kind of cute though.
Oh no, he's the best part of it. He is.
Well,
he
there
is
we go.
hot.
You just got to look at him
But-
and be like,
I thought the rest of it was some of the worst like use of CGI I've seen in a movie.
That's
in my
yeah.
"What's
life.
CGI?"
They I
Where?
think
The
they
snow?
did switch up
Looking
the
at that
effect style
mustache.
a lot in Death on the Nile. It looks way more like I think Death on the Nile. It might be the weakest narrative, but the way they did the effects looks a lot better because they didn't try to make it look as real. If that makes sense.
That's fair.
See,
I can see.
yeah.
I can see why you like it. I can. And like as an Agatha Christie fan, this incredible high budget adaptation
yeah.
is really exciting. I totally get that. Just it. Yeah.
I can
Wasn't for me.
I
Olivia
understand
Colman,
why.
how dare you? Dame Judi Dench,
Oh.
how dare you?
Yeah, I'm sorry, but Dame Judi Dench doing a terrible accent and Olivia Colman is barely used in that movie.
Well,
it's
that
like
was-
what a
yes.
waste
They
of
should have
actors.
switched.
It was right before.
Yeah.
That was right before Olivia Colman got famous, like internationally. So she was kind
Yeah,
of
you can
the
tell.
She was
outsider
working
British
away.
comedian.
I'll
like,
say it. Dame Judi Dench, a better performance in Cats than in that movie.
I
Do
have
not-
not seen
That's where I'm at with
Cats.
that.
I do
Do
not wish
not.
to see Cats.
Liam, be reasonable. Be reasonable. Cats.
No,
Cats, Liam.
No, it's 11:10. This is my take.
Oh dear.
How dare
does
you bring
anyone else
cats
have
to
a
this podcast? How dare you? You didn't need to do that.
I enjoyed watching that movie for the wrong reasons, but I enjoyed it more than Murder on the Orient Express. Anyway, before we all fall out,
Oh god.
This is
does
not
anyone
happening.
else have a hyperfixation?
Oh no.
My hyperfixation is your mad movie takes. Cats, Liam. Be serious. Be serious.
It was terrible, but enjoyably terrible.
It was. I mean, I never saw it. I've just seen video essays about it.
Oh, you
I've
should.
seen Cats vicariously through other people's takes. I'm too scared. The cockroaches alone.
Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad.
I can't.
Yeah, but
I
you get
cannot.
Idris Elba going, McCafferty!
When she unzips the cat suit.
Oh,
The cat unzips the suit.
it's fucking dire. But like, getting a bit drunk with a bunch of pals and watching that, one of my highlights of 2021. So
No, it's fair. It's just when you see Dame Judi Dench, you're going to have to tell her that take. She'll punch you.
I will. When,
Actually, she's quite
when I meet
short.
her.
Well, you have to see her reach. Yeah.
I mean, I'm quite short as well, so.
We're the same height, aren't we?
We are all more or less of a height,
Are we
which
all
I'm
the same
always
height?
really surprised at when we get together. And I
There was
remember
like an
that-
audio glitch there. I don't know what happened there. Does anyone else
We're
have a
all 6
hyperfixation?
foot. I'm 6. Was it? That's when you mean boy math when everyone's 6 foot. Boy math be mathing.
So based on this episode, you're a 6-foot baby. Is that what we're
6
that what
foot
we're
6
established?
year
I
old?
mean, born 2017. I mean, yes. Rebecca, what's your
Hello. Oh my god. I sort of have been busy with stuff and forgot to have a hyperfixation. But there is one that I have had in the sort of back pocket all year for when I wanted to talk about something that's more generally of interest. And actually, I think it is going to be coming up for me soon. So I don't know if this will make it into the edit, but we discussed briefly earlier that I am on my own this weekend, something which doesn't happen an awful lot. So I've decided that full control of the big TV means I'm going to be doing my best to no life Ghostwire Tokyo, which I'm still trying 100% on the PS5. I love Ghostwire Tokyo. Really, really love it. Haven't finished the story yet still after all this time, but I'm saving all those ghosts. I'm saving every single ghost.
You're
in Tokyo.
saving them all.
Yeah, they're all getting in my little paper thing, and then they're going in the phone. Yes, it's happening.
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna platinum
Incredible
this game.
commitment.
And another thing that I kind of wanted to bring up, just because it's on my mind, is something that pairs very well with Ghostwire Tokyo, and it came up again recently. Is I don't know if either of you have watched Alice in Borderland on Netflix.
I haven't, but I keep being recommended it.
It's
me
good.
too.
It's not amazing, but it is very, very good fun. And they just announced they're getting a season 3, which was kind of up in the air, because season 2 ended in a way that was such as like, it could be the end, but they teased a bit of a further story. And I personally was like, it was an okay ending, but I was like, I would much prefer that they continue it. And I'm surprised because Netflix doesn't tend to put much shelf life into its series these days, but I'm very happy there's getting a series 3. And I was like thinking about it, I was like, there's nothing I really want to watch on TV at the moment. Like this weekend I'm going to play some Ghostwire, but I don't know what I want to watch. And I was like, I could just rewatch some Alice in Borderland and like totally make my weekend themed around the idea basically everyone in Tokyo has disappeared. Like, I don't know why that idea compels me so much, but I just... Everyone in a city has disappeared. It's such a cool story, and they love to set that sort of thing in Tokyo. So, yeah, I'm getting back into an old hyperfixation. I'm like pre-hyperfixating on this idea that's going to be what I theme my weekend around.
What is it? I actually don't know what it's about.
So it's like these 3 guys who are just kind of like ordinary lads who live in Tokyo. They're goofing around at the Shibuya crossing, which is obviously fun because it's a big location in the game Ghostwire Tokyo as well, which is why it's often paired in my mind, I think. So they're like goofing around. They accidentally cause like a bit of a prang between 2 cars. Security guards start chasing them, so they run into like the terminal building at the train station. They like go and hide in this supply closet, and like some stuff goes off, there's some weird noises and whatever, and they come out and like everyone's disappeared.
Oh,
like
that's a good setup. Okay.
It's such a good setup, and they're just hanging around. They're like, what do we do? So they just sort of start going around the city. They keep coming back to Shibuya Crossing, waiting to see if anyone else turns up, and then stuff starts flashing up on the screens around, the big high-rise buildings in the area, being like, go to this location, the games are going to begin, or something along those lines. And it goes a lot of places from there. That's like, I don't want to say too much more because I think you probably, if you check it out at all, you'll spot that. Another thing that I'm really into, it might have come up before on the podcast, I can't remember, is Alice in Wonderland. It is broadly Alice in Wonderland themed. So they're taking part in all of these. Again, it's a deadly game thing again, which again, another one of my things. It's just an intersection of my interests basically, but they're all sort of like deck of card themed deadly games that these people end up in. It goes some absolutely bonkers places, but it's just very... It's good fun, It's not like the most revelatory. It's not like the greatest high art experience you'll ever have, but it's solidly good fun for 2 seasons.
Like a thriller.
Like a thriller, a really good thriller. And a third one coming out, like, probably not soon, but it's in production now, which is exciting.
Okay, nice.
So,
that's a very good hyperfixation.
My plan for the weekend.
That sounds like such a good, yes.
Have an
Enjoy
amazing time. Yeah.
I intend to.
Send us updates.
I may or may not. Yeah. Probably not gonna get even on the G-rated drug that is Monster Energy drink, to be honest, because...
Nah, you should. Definitely.
Do it.
It'll kill me.
Just take little sips. Just take it slow.
Yeah. Don't down it in an hour like I did on this very podcast. Well, not this very podcast, but you know what I mean.
A very podcast.
A very podcast.
A very podcast.
The other podcast.
Rachel, what is your hyperfixation?
My hyperfixation is Castlevania Nocturne, which is another season of the Castlevania Netflix animation, which is based off the games. Not played the games, but I'm really into the animation. I saw the first 3 seasons, really enjoyed it. It's come back in a different timeline, new characters, some returning ones. And yeah, I'm just having a great time. I've not finished it yet, but the animation looks amazing. I feel like, I'm not sure what animation studio this is, but they're so good. Like when you like come up with an idea for animation and someone's like, oh yeah, so spellcasters and a guy that uses a whip. And you like, how do you even begin to kind of like map out how this battle-focused stories with a whip and spellcasting, like the animation is ridiculous. It is so good, and it's just as good, if not even better, in Nocturne. And my husband, Alucard, hasn't shown up yet, but I'm just waiting for him.
Fingers
because
crossed.
he's had a redesign to make him look more like in the games. And like, I'm just so ready. I've seen like a little like TikTok teaser, and he's just looking so good. My feminine prince, he's just, yeah, iconic. He hasn't turned up yet. I really hope it's not just like at the last episode and he just like comes in at the end really quick and it's like, wait for season 2, because I just need Alucard. I need more of him. He was such a good character in like I'm not sure how the game handles his character, but in terms of like the characters in like the first Castlevania seasons, it's just really interesting, and like Dracula's kind of backstory. The first episode deals with him and like why he like actually hates humanity and all that, which is like really sad, but also like, this is great. Just hot vampires, you know what I mean? So
I do know what you mean.
Also,
I think
it's hot girl vampires as well. Not, there's someone for everyone, ladies. Like, they are honestly so iconic. The outfits they wear. Okay, this is set in like the French Revolution, but these ladies do not hold back. They are killing with style, like not just like sucking blood out of people. Like, they honestly, the outfits are so fucking good. And like literally in season 3 of Castlevania, there was like 4 like head vampire vampire girlies. And they were like so iconic, and I just, it's so great. And I feel like last couple of seasons, the diversity was a bit off. I guess it's because they were like, well, it's in this time period, but that did not stop them for this one. That like the cast is more diverse. There's more like different characters. Like I'm really enjoying it, and like I don't think it's as good as maybe some of the other seasons, but it's going okay. It's going okay. I'm just waiting until he shows up, because then it'll be the best one. Because he will. Guys, he looks so good.
He looks just like he does in Dawn of Sorrow. That's great.
I think because they were like, oh, we'll take more inspiration from the games. And in the game, he's really pale and like more white than he is in the other series. And like his hair's different, and he's like, his eyes are snatched. Like he's proper got like, I don't know what he's got, like lashes and eyeliner on. He looks incredible.
He's like pretty. I would say he's pretty
so
as a character design.
Pretty.
Yeah.
He's very pretty.
Yeah.
And so there's lots of pretty people in this anime that are just, great. So I'm enjoying that.
I need to watch this. I love the games. I've just never watched the anime. So
you
I
should
need
give
to
it a
do
go.
that.
Like, I feel like the animation and the fight scenes are like unbelievably good. They are so fucking intense.
It is a good looking show.
Yeah, it really
I need
is.
to get caught up, but it's I watched the first season on Netflix, and
all right, okay.
Yeah, I've never like Rachel, I've never played the games, but I watched the first season on Netflix. Always meant to go back to it. Still need to. I just remember all the memes about Alucard being shirtless and crying.
Yeah, there's a lot. He cries a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Soft boy.
I need to know nothing else.
Oh.
Is it the same team that did the Cyberpunk anime? Is it just like a Netflix anime team, or is it different?
I don't
teams?
think so. Just because the style is different. I'm not, but it could be.
Right,
Let's have a quick look. So I've got the Wikipedia page up here for Nocturne. They are animated. DR movie. Oh, production. Powerhouse Animation Studios. I'm going to click on them.
No, it's Studio Trigger that did the Cyberpunk one.
Oh, Trigger are big. They're a Japanese studio. They do a lot of like
they did Kill
impressive anime.
Cool.
Wasn't for me, but I appreciate animation. Kill. I want to see Edge Runners though. Apparently, it's really good.
Yeah, well, like, I might talk about this in an upcoming episode, but I've been playing a little bit of that there Cyberpunk, and
Oh, have you now?
I think it might actually be good.
Finally!
Have you got to Phantom
The day
Liberty
has
yet?
come!
I haven't yet, but like, I'm just having a great time. I'm playing as female V, which is definitely the right way to play that game. We'll talk about this in a later episode.
Jeremy Lee.
definitely, but,
Yeah,
like,
we should.
For sure, for life. I want to romance Kerry, but I don't want to not hear Jeremy Lee's take on the V character, so I'm in a bind.
Ooh. We'll definitely save it for another episode then.
do some,
for
that might be
sure.
my hyperfixation next episode. But
Yeah,
yes.
absolute indie smash, Cyberpunk 2077. I just, the conversation tends towards that. I was like about to ask a question about Baldur's Gate 3, and then I was like, no, we can't. It's like nearly 11:30 at night. I need to...
I honestly do think though, like, stuff can be cut. Like, we don't need everything.
But we're just so interesting and funny and likable.
I know, we just can't help it.
I know, we're just so good at podcasting. We just give
We're
all
just
this away
really
for free.
good. Right? We can't help it. We're just
This
blessed.
This is such value for money for you listeners.
Yeah. We're not even being, we used to be paid to do this. Now we're doing
Yeah.
it for free. You could chuck us a buck. Maybe there'll be a way to pay us eventually, but not yet. This is a treat. This is your little treat, listener. You're gonna get real close to the microphone. This is for you.
A little treat. This is a big treat. Do we have an outro?
Not yet.
Okay. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Indieventure. More welcome. I think we decided that the first episode and second episode, potentially the third one, are going to be out relatively close, and then we're going to pick up more of a structure. So yeah, tune in, please. We're going to be talking about more indie games. We're kind of gearing up towards the end of the year now, so we're definitely going to be thinking about like our favorite games of 2023 and what we're looking forward to in 2024. So if you want to hear those opinions, then definitely like, what is it? Subscribe. Where are we putting these? What do you do?
You follow us. Like,
Follow.
I assume subscribe to us on the podcast application of your choice. And honestly, like right now in these early days, like we're kicking this off on our own back. We're doing this on our own. Like, share it. Rate us 5 stars on all of the platforms if you enjoyed it. Like I said on the other podcast, if you didn't like it, if you're considering 4 stars and below, just walk away. It's okay. It's fine.
We don't want to know.
5 stars. We don't want to know.
It's okay. We can be your Souls-like of podcasts. It's okay.
We can. It's okay.
Okay.
This don't have to be for you. It's okay.
Open an email, type in everything, your feelings, emotions, thoughts, and then delete the email because we don't want it. We don't want it. 4 stars and lower. 5 stars, okay.
But 5 stars, 5 stars, brilliant.
I
All 5
hope
stars.
people understand my tone of humour. Jesus God.
If this is the first episode they've listened to, they'll be like, wow, these are really full of themselves. This is like an in-joke to an in-joke to another podcast. It's a reference to a podcast we don't even own anymore.
I swear, I'm not a dick. I'm not a dick.
1 star. That Rachel told me to get fucked and I didn't find it very nice.
Well, I did tell people, listeners, if they romanced Shane to get therapy, wasn't it? In one episode of
Was it Shane or Haley?
Oh, it was
was
probably
Shane.
Haley.
I think
Or
it was
was
Haley.
Shane.
That was
Either one.
Shane.
Either one.
It was Shane because that's how I found out my sister was listening to the podcast because she texted me and just said, I romance Shane every time.
The thing that I choose to remember from that episode is that
Respect the choice, though.
Christopher Judge had a standing invitation to guest on the pod whenever he wanted, and I would like to continue that into
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Indieventure.
Christopher
Get in
Judge.
touch, Chris.
Christopher Judge,
Yeah.
if you're listening, just whatever you want to chat about, it would just be lovely to have you on the podcast. So,
I mean, it would be a 3-hour podcast at that point, but
oh yeah,
Chris,
And-
you're still welcome.
yeah, it would be the best 3 hours.
Just him as well. We would just...
Oh yeah, I just let him talk. I'll let you finish whatever you want to say, Christopher Judge. You can get to the end of that speech.
He does 2.5 hours about meeting Cory Barlog, and then one of us is like, so have you ever played like Hollow Knight? Or
Have you ever played House Party?
have you...
Let us tell you.
Chris, listen, I don't want to interrupt you, Chris, but are you familiar with the works of Doja Cat? Yeah, rate us 5 stars. We'll have a proper rate. We've got email addresses and stuff. We'll do it.
Yeah,
We're finding
and,
our feet.
You know,
but
just
yeah,
keep
we'll get
listening as well. I think
that's all that matters. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. It means a lot. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Let's wrap it up.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.